Chapter 1249. In the sky, a huge flower floated down. It bloomed. It was so beautiful that no words in the world could describe the relaxation of life, the vitality of nature. Fatty High and the others were instantly intoxicated. They stared blankly at this scene, not knowing how to react. Compared to them, young Masterly Ming and the Sun God General were not much better. Although they were not as exaggerated as Fatty High, their minds were still in a daze. In a few short seconds, their minds were blank. They only knew how to look at the beautiful scenery in front of them, forgetting to attack or defend. Amidst the thousands of beautiful lights, a cute little lowly jumped out. Her body was covered with a flowery robe that looked like pink petals. In this world, no one else looked the same except her. Rainbows revolved around her like ribbons. Her bare feet were like jade. When she stepped on the ground, fresh flowers bloomed on the ground, as if the spirit of the earth was afraid that the dirty ground would dirty her lotus-like feet. Her small hand, that was like a snow lotus root, wore a fine silver bracelet on her wrist. Besides a mysterious spirit pearl inlaid on each of the bracelets, there were also 3 small bells. As they danced, a clear sound entered one's ears, causing one to be leisurely and forget about the world. The most breathtaking thing about her was that she was so exquisite that it was not something a human woman could have. Although she was still a little lowly and had not fully grown up, it was still enough to make people's hearts stop and make people's souls willingly sink into it. On top of this little lowly's head, other than a strand of extremely naughty red fruit on her forehead, there were also 3 peerlessly beautiful flowers on top of it. These 3 flowers were of different sizes and were special and mysterious. They were not something that could be found in the secular world. No one could recognize the origin of the flowers. No one could understand the language of the flowers, and no one could understand the meaning of the flowers. The 3 flowers each had their own detailed undulations, and the energy expanded circle after circle of light. It was not a domain, but it was more powerful than a warrior's domain. This was the image of a flower goddess that appeared when Duo walked in the world. Of course, her real body was not this little lowly's flower goddess form. It was just that she was not willing to show her flower goddess real body outside of the grimoire world. Even in front of her master, Yu Yang, she would often come out in this kind of cute appearance, so that she could act coquettishly towards him. Duo, it's really you. Big brother, I missed you so much. Fatty High wiped his drooling mouth and ran towards Duo with wild joy. You're courting death. Yikong immediately rewarded him with a flying kick, sending this damn fatty who wanted a hug and take advantage of him flying 10,000 meters away. Even Prince Tian Luo, who was the least easily angered, couldn't stand this wretched fatty. A chain of fire pulled him back. Yikong and the Li clan brothers immediately surrounded him and gave him a good beating. This was probably a fat cockroach that had turned into a damned fatty. He really couldn't skip a day of beating. If he skipped a day of beating, he reckoned that his whole body would itch. Moreover, this damned fatty's vitality was so tenacious. Other than his thick skin and fat all over his body, it was probably because he had been through a lot of fighting. While the fight was going on, Duo was nodding her head in greeting to the old fox. The old fox hurriedly returned the greeting. If it was before, when Duo was Yu Yang's guardian beast, he could still accept her greeting as a teacher. But now, Duo had already leveled up to become the Golden Crown Thorny Flower Empress, or even higher. How could the old fox dare to accept her greeting in such an ostentatious manner? If this news were to spread, it would be strange if he didn't become the laughingstock of the entire Tong Tian Tower. Not only did the old fox respectfully return the greeting, even the barefooted girl that had transformed from the wind-breath seabird also hurriedly bowed deeply, showing her utmost respect to the one and only flower goddess in this world. She was not an old fox. As an intelligent beast, she was more sensitive to the existence of the god realm. If they didn't know each other long ago, she wouldn't dare to be so rude. Normal beasts would already kneel when they saw a divine beast, let alone a divine beast that had advanced to the god realm. Duo appeared in the world in this Lolita form, and had completely suppressed her coercion. If she released even 1% of her coercion, not to mention the dumbfounded young Master Li Ming, even that arrogant divine sun general would wet his pants on the spot. What did a mere divine general count for? In the outer mountain, when a mysterious, true God realm person appeared, other than deicide, even Black Day and the other god rankers also kneeled down. This is the golden-crowned thorny flower queen. The middle-aged scholar, standing opposite Yu Yang, cried out involuntarily. Immediately, he shook his head with a solemn expression. After a long time, he reluctantly said, God realm, this is already the flower goddess. This is simply impossible. She is your guardian beast. Even if you contracted a grimoire the moment you were born, how many years did you have? How did you raise her? How could she level up to the god realm? No, this is absolutely impossible. Above her head, there is still the 3 flowers gathered at one's prominence. This is the embodiment of the Eastern Immortal Tribe's unique cultivation realm. She can't possibly have this realm. Yu Yang didn't answer. The truth was in front of him. Even if others questioned it, it couldn't change the truth. Regarding Duo leveling up to the god realm, he knew about it. But what was the 3 flowers gathered at one's prominence realm? He didn't know whether it was taught by the Qilin girl Bingyin, or passed down by the Phoenix sisters, or the guidance of the mysterious sword goddess. Duo didn't want to say, so he didn't ask. This might be a little secret that was inconvenient to share. Everyone had their own secrets. If Duo wanted to say it, she could say it. She would naturally tell him. And not only him, in the grimoire world, no one asked. Even a mischievous Bao heir, who was so curious that she almost exploded, was no exception. Duo did not attack young Master Li Ming or the Sun General. Enemies of this level. They were not worthy of her, of Flower Goddess, to attack. If Yikong, Fatty Hai, Shui Tanlang, and the others were not Yu Yang's good friends, and the old fox, Shui Donglu, was Yu Yang's mentor, she would not have come in person. At most, she would have sent a thorny flower clone to swallow these small characters in one bite. Because the enemy had set up a trap in front of us, Duo had to rush out to help Sister Wu Xia and the others clean up the intruders. She couldn't stay for too long. Duo nodded slightly towards the old fox. Under the gaze of Yikong, Shui Tanlang, and the others, she showed a bright smile and made a decision. So, I'll leave these 2 enemies to you guys. Don't worry, your brother Hai can beat that young Master Li Ming up with just 1 punch. There's no need for Sister Duo to attack. You just need to clap and cheer for us. Fatty Hai, who had been beaten into a pig's head, jumped up and crossed his arms, making a look at my muscles gesture. Will you die if you don't brag? The barefooted girl, transformed from the wind-breath seabird, pulled Fatty Hai's ear and made a circular motion. Would you forget the pain if I don't teach you some family discipline? It hurts. My ear's going to fall off. Fatty Hai screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Young Master Li Ming and the Sun General looked at each other. If Duo wanted to attack, the 2 of them would inevitably feel uncertain. After all, Duo's performance was too shocking, far beyond their imagination. Although they had heard of the Golden Crown Thorny Flower Queen's terrifying fighting power, they had never fought against her before. They didn't know if the rumors were true or false. Looking at the imposing manner of her appearance, let alone young Master Li Ming, even the arrogant Sun General wouldn't be willing to fight against Duo. However, when they heard that she wouldn't attack and let that damn fatty and the others fight, young Master Li Ming and the Sun General were secretly happy. Wasn't this just delivering food to them? Even if they wanted to be abused, they wouldn't do this. Even at this moment, the Sun General had some doubts. That was the legendary Golden Crown Thorny Flower Queen didn't have any attack power at all. Maybe it was her defense or healing abilities. In any case, if she didn't attack, it could prove that this Golden Crown Thorny Flower Queen, who looked like a little girl, didn't have any fighting power. Or maybe she hadn't even grown up and was still in her infancy. What a joke. Do you think you can scare people with a sky full of flower petals? The Sun General looked disdainful, but he was actually vigilant. After all, the invisible pressure emitted from Duo made him secretly feel cold. Although the golden crowned thorny flower queen's power had not been heard of for thousands of years, there had been rumors of this kind of 10,000 flower queen since tens of thousands of years ago. Meeting a golden crowned thorny flower queen, even if she was in her infancy, was not an opponent that could be underestimated. Luckily, this golden crowned thorny flower queen was very proud and announced that she wouldn't attack. Furthermore, the Great Hall Master was watching the battle. Otherwise, he would have to consider retreating to protect himself. In my name, I bestow upon you the power of the ancient forest. Duo's little hand lightly tapped, and a few green dots of light entered Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and Shui Tan Lang's bodies. Yi Kong and the others didn't show any change on their faces. However, at this moment, they felt the kind of divine power in their bodies that could allow them to stand forever and continuously absorb the energy of the earth to recover. If not for the fact that there was only one heart of earth in the world, they would have thought that they had obtained a man's heart of earth. Although this kind of divine power in the form of the ancient forest only existed a little. Furthermore, it was only a temporary effect. However, this was already enough for Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others to transform into Ultraman. Actually, the power of the ancient forest was not limited to these 2 points. There were still many other powers. With Fatty Hai in the others' current realm, how could they detect all of them? Only Duo and Yu Bing could truly grasp it. Moreover, they didn't have the time or leisure to sense it. What they needed to do now was to become roaring berserkers. Each and every one of them were like mad, hungry wolves, charging towards young Master Li Ming and the Sun General. Especially Fatty Hai, who had been beaten up miserably, he took the lead. With a face full of lewd smiles, he rushed towards young Master Li Ming. His words were as if he had seen his brother from the same shop. "My dear, your Uncle Hai is here. Are your chrysanthemums itching to the point of death? Don't worry, your Uncle Hai will immediately satisfy you." Chapter 1250. Exploding Head Hammer. Just as Fatty Hai rushed towards him, young Master Li Ming took a step back and stepped on the ground. Unknowingly, the trap that had been lying in ambush under his feet suddenly activated. Just like a mouse trap, a huge mace covered with wolf fangs, with a diameter of 5 meters, appeared. It looked like a towering tree that had been chopped down, but its direction was the exact opposite. It bounced out from the trap on the ground, smashing towards Fatty Hai, who was shouting as he charged into the attack range. Rumble. The wolf fang hammer, which had a diameter of 5 meters, directly nailed Fatty Hai into the rock. If it wasn't for Yi Kong and the Li brothers retreating quickly, they would have suffered the same fate. Idiot, don't think that I only have offensive treasures. No matter if it's attack, defense, or control, I don't lack anything. In fact, I have enough treasures to easily kill you all. Young Master Li Ming laughed coldly. His face regained confidence and even pride. If not for his father, young Master Li Ming would have escaped long ago. However, it was completely different now. His father was here. With his great wisdom and his talent in chess, no one could turn the tide of the battle. Even Yu Clan's third young master, Yu Tai Tan, who was known as the miracle of Tong Tian Tower, could not do it. Young Master Li Ming's wavering willpower was now 100% restored. He believed that his father would not abandon him. He also believed that the enemy's resistance would be futile. He had seen too much. No matter what kind of enemy they were in the heaven realm, as long as they went against his father, there would not be a second ending. The precious treasures that he had prepared to protect his life could all be used now. Because with his father here, there was no need to keep the treasures. As long as he won this battle, he would definitely obtain more treasures. He might even obtain the ancient treasures from the gods' ruins. Of course, young Master Li Ming also wanted to perform well in front of his father. That golden-crowned thorny flower queen who had suddenly descended, young Master Li Ming knew that she was no match for her. However, this was not important. The golden-crowned thorny flower queen was the Sun Divine General's opponent. Furthermore, even if the Sun Divine General was defeated, there was still her father who had schemed and arranged everything. As long as one's Go talent begins, everything in the world will become a chess piece, and nothing will be able to escape from Lord Father's control. This is the inevitable result. When the Divine Sun General saw that young Master Li Ming had used the exploding head hammer to smash Fatty High into the ground, his expression relaxed a little. However, he still couldn't be careless. After all, there was still a golden-crowned, thorny flower queen in her infancy. "Fatty, you're not dead yet, right?" Yikong seemed to have heard the sound of a groundhog digging underground. "You're the one who's dead. You don't even know how spirited your Uncle Hai is." A vulgar voice came from underground. It was Fatty High. Then a strange phenomenon appeared on the ground. The Wolfong hammer that was originally smashed deep into the ground suddenly trembled slightly. Then inch by inch, it left the ground and rose upwards. When it was a foot high, everyone saw Fatty High, whose head was covered in mud, using both of his hands to lift it up. Under young Master Li Ming's dumbfounded gaze, Fatty High crawled out while panting heavily. If he wasn't carrying the Wolfong hammer, it would be shocking enough. After all, he had been smashed to the face by a heavy blow. If he didn't die, he would already be considered a super cockroach. Fatty High forcibly lifted the Wolfong hammer with both of his hands. Under his unimaginable strength, the Wolfong hammer that was originally used as a lever, a steel lever with a diameter of 1/2 meter, let out a series of bone-chilling screeches. It twisted and changed shape. In the end, amidst bursts of green smoke and strange noises, the thick steel lever exploded and broke like a fried dough twist with a bang. Fatty High casually threw the Wolfong hammer on the ground, as if he was throwing away a toothpick. The incomparably heavy Wolfong hammer smashed into the ground with a loud thud, creating a huge pit, half of it sinking into the mud. "That's impossible." Young Master Li Ming was dumbfounded. This reverse hammer trap was a gold-ranked control-type treasure. Forget about a fatty. Even if it was a giant mammoth, a deep-sea rock tortoise, or even a heaven-ranked level 5 Heaven Realm ranker, if they were to be hit by this reverse hammer trap, they would be heavily injured. Even if it wasn't fatal, it shouldn't be unscathed, right? Look at Fatty High again. Apart from being covered in dirt and grime, not even a single hair on his head was injured. How could this be possible? The Divine Sun General's expression became a little solemn. Although this kind of brute force attack was nothing to him, he noticed that the fatty's defense had indeed improved by 10,000 times. Could it be that the ancient forest blessing was really that powerful? In comparison, the traitor of Tongtian Tower who was playing chess with Yu Yang, the great hall master of the Central Shrine, who was known as the wisest person in the Central Shrine, Dongfang, who appeared as a middle-aged scholar. His expression was very bad at this moment. Divine power. If he still had a glimmer of hope just now, it was now gone. This was definitely the divine power blessing. It was an indisputable divine power. Moreover, it was a divine power blessing that could only be used by a god-ranked ranker with a super strong godhead. To be able to do this, it was definitely not an ordinary god. Yu Yang's expression was different from his. It was as bright as a clear blue sky. He was also in a very good mood. His face was full of smiles. "Siege hammer." Young Master Li Ming waved his hand again. A battering ram with a silver sheep head and a copper body rushed out from under Fatty High's feet. With a dong sound, it smashed into Fatty High's chest. With the impact of this siege hammer, there were probably no city gates or walls in this world that could stop its impact, let alone a human's body. Even a small mountain or a cliff would instantly have a huge hole under its fierce impact. Young Master Li Ming thought that Fatty High would be shot into the sky like a meteor, then fly 10,000 meters away like a kite with a broken string before crashing heavily on the ground. His whole body was fractured, his chest collapsed, blood flowed out from all his orifices, and he was on the verge of death. In the end, he couldn't be saved and died. This was a normal result. Unfortunately, what Fatty High saw now was that the battering ram that could split mountains and break rocks was bounced up high into the sky. The pure copper body that was a meter in diameter spun in the sky. And finally, the silver goat bull fell down and landed in front of Fatty High with a bang. And that damn Fatty, who was supposed to be smashed to pieces and was destined to die. However, he didn't move an inch. "Fatty, how do you feel?" Yikong looked at the silent Fatty High, and wondered if he had become stupid from the impact. It hurts a lot. Fatty High rubbed his chest and gave a standard answer at the same time. It feels like a mosquito bite. This guy's pretentious words were simply outrageous. In the end, even the elegant prince of Tian Luo couldn't help but burst out. "Young master, can I use vulgarities?" Yi Kong and the Li brothers laughed loudly when they heard this. Young Master Li Ming couldn't laugh. This was because Fatty High was approaching them step by step. He was neither fast nor slow, neither too fast nor too slow. No matter what treasure young Master Li Ming used, no matter how he attacked or defended, it was of no use. This damn fatty was as firm as a bronze statue. No, he was 100 times stronger than a bronze statue. No matter what kind of attack he received, his small body could still stand up straight. No matter how big his injuries were, he would recover in the blink of an eye. The despairing young Master Li Ming looked at his father, who was outside the transparent world. However, he was even more despairing to find out that his father, who had everything in his grasp, was actually thinking hard and did not care about him at all. Young Master Li Ming screamed, "Father, save me. Don't treat me like an abandoned chess piece. I am your son. Please don't do that. I don't want to be abandoned. Don't cry. Be strong. You're not a child anymore." Fatty High's voice was as gentle as a spring breeze as he patiently comforted young Master Li Ming. Of course, if he didn't tightly wrap his arms around young Master Li Ming's waist, no matter how young Master Li Ming attacked or struggled, he would be more convincing. Fatty High suffered a lot of blows along the way. He even stepped on a dozen explosive bombs. His whole body exploded like a beggar. His clothes were tattered. However, he didn't do anything. He didn't have any intention of taking revenge on young Master Li Ming. He only tightly held onto young Master Li Ming's waist, as if he was hugging young Master Li Ming affectionately, like a close brother. "Let go, let me go, let me go. I will never come back to Tong Tian Tower again. I swear, I will never be your enemy." Young Master Li Ming begged tearfully. If it wasn't Fatty High, but someone else in this world, even if they had a heart of stone, their heart would definitely soften and be moved after hearing such a tearful plea. If swearing is useful, then wouldn't God be very busy? Fatty High, who ate oaths like they were cabbages, looked at young Master Li Ming very rationally and sincerely. As one of the most promising youths in the world, it is our duty to improve the social atmosphere, raise our moral standards, and become the idol of the younger generation. It is our duty to make tens of thousands of girls cheer for us and tens of thousands of women have orgasms for us. Under such a great historical responsibility, on such an important day, how could we relax ourselves and casually make oaths? Even if we do, it won't be your turn to swear. You even rush to swear. What do you mean by that? Could it be that you have forgotten about our unwavering friendship? Fatty High spat out a mouthful of saliva, making young Master Li Ming dizzy. In the process, Yi Kong and the Li brothers surrounded her. They didn't say a word, they just took action. The Li brothers pulled out the hedgehog-like golden arrows from their bodies one by one and inserted them into young Master Li Ming's body. They didn't make a single mistake, they didn't go in at all, they didn't make a mistake at all. In short, no matter how the golden arrows were nailed into their bodies, they would return them to young Master Li Ming's body without a single mistake. Yi Kong didn't have any golden arrows on him, but this didn't stop him from being enthusiastic. He helped the Li brothers to pull out the arrows that couldn't be accurately pulled out from their bodies and accurately return them to young Master Li Ming's back. Finally, he pulled out the golden short spear that was still nailed to his chest and back. Bit by bit, it was sent into young Master Li Ming's chest. After looking at it for a while, Yi Kong realized that he didn't make a mistake. The whole process was as precise as a work of art. Only then did he let out a sigh of relief. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to recover, but he didn't expect that under his unparalleled patience and perseverance, he would still be able to successfully return the favor to young Master Li Ming, who had knocked him down 368 times. Yi Kong felt that if he knocked young Master Li Ming down 368 times, he would be able to make him look like a skeleton. Unexpectedly at this time, Fatty High suddenly shouted, Hey, you monkey, don't you know that young Master Li Ming is our Tong Tian Tower's esteemed guest? You actually dared to stab him in the chest? This is simply too disrespectful. Shameful. You are smearing the name of our Tong Tian Tower. Are we people who seek revenge for the smallest grievance? When Yi Kong heard this, he was a little dumbfounded. Aren't we? If this short spear doesn't stab his chest, where should it stab? Fatty Hai finally let go of young Master Li Ming. He moved his arms and legs. He let the Li brothers turn young Master Li Ming over in a friendly manner. Then, he pulled out the golden short spear that was stained with blood and aimed it slightly before fiercely stabbing it into young Master Li Ming's chrysanthemum. While young Master Li Ming was twitching and screaming in pain, Fatty Hai looked at Yi Kong with a serious face. Monkey, did you see that? This is how our Tong Tian Tower treats our guests. Look at how happy young Master Li Ming is. Look at his expression. Look at how happy he is. Listen to his screams. Look at how ecstatic he is. This is what we should do. When the Sun God General saw this, he couldn't help but feel a chill in his crotch. Chapter 12:51. Yang kept looking at the middle-aged scholar. This traitor of Tong Tian Tower did not move at all. He continued to play chess, completely ignoring the pain his son was suffering. Ruthless. As expected of the Central Shrine's #1 strategist. In order to scheme against others, he could even abandon his own son. Yu Yang admired this Dong Feng, great palace master, very much. The legendary saying, if you can't give up your children, you can't beat the wolf. If you can't give up your wife, you can't catch the wolf. What Yu Yang did not know was that the Dong Feng great palace master had more than 100 sons. This young Master Li Ming was only 1%. If he abandoned him, then so be it. Forget about young Master Li Ming. Even if he abandoned all of them, what's the big deal? At most, he could give birth to more than 100 sons. In the heaven realm, the Dong Feng great palace master might lack other things, but he definitely did not lack sons. If young Master Li Ming worked hard, he could still be his son. If he was like this, sorry, he would be an abandoned son. Young Master Li Ming's cry was very mournful, but in the ears of Fatty Hai and the others, it was very beautiful. It was just that they felt that this cry was a little monotonous. If the Sun God General was added as a duet, it would be even more perfect. After taking care of young Master Li Ming, Yi Kong and the Li brothers turned towards the Divine Sun General. Other than Fatty Hai, who continued to study whether the chrysanthemum and the golden short spear had a better friction sound, Shui Tan Lang, Tian Luo King, Wind Breath Seabird, Yi Kong and the Li brothers had slowly surrounded the Divine Sun General, who was still calm and composed. Cheat, the Sun God General sneered. If you think that I will be beaten by you like that trash, then you are gravely mistaken. Is there a difference? Yi Kong did not feel any difference. You have the golden crown thorny flower queen's blessing. Your body does not need to be hit by brute force, and you recover quickly. However, you have a fatal weakness. The Sun God General snorted. You did not receive an increase in attack. You only receive an increase in defense. That's enough. Shui Tan Lang moved the fastest, rushing towards the Sun God General. As long as I do not let you get close, you're not even comparable to a group of mice crawling all over the ground. The Sun God General casually threw the condensed light ball into the ground. He had enough confidence. Even if there was a golden crowned thorny flower queen in front of him, it was not enough to make him afraid. As a godly general, the power he possessed was beyond the imagination of a heaven-ranked expert. Moreover, these juniors in front of him were not even at heaven-ranked level 5. They were simply rookies. How could they bully a godly general like him? He wants to attack me with the same method he used on young Master Li Ming? What a joke. Could they understand the power of a divine general? The energy ball that was thrown into the ground exploded again. Once again, it exploded beneath Shui Tan Lang and the rest. It was different from before. Last time, Shui Tan Lang and the others had to use all their strength to barely escape from the team's tacit understanding. It was a close call, and Shui Tan Lang, the strongest among them, had almost fallen into the endless void. It was completely different now. Shui Tan Lang was not blown away. His feet were still standing in the same place. When the big explosion happened, he was still looking at the Divine Sun General, as if it was the first time he had seen this enemy. Boom! The energy ball was incomparably powerful. Countless rocks and gravel were thrown into the air by the shockwave, creating a mushroom cloud that was almost the same size as the previous one. The only difference was that the explosion on the grassy ground did not shatter. It did not even cause a crack. Even the ripples in the space were very small. It could be said that there was a loud bang in the air. When a huge mushroom cloud dispersed, the shockwave slid across the boundless green weeds. The sound lingered. The power gradually disappeared and finally became invisible. The huge pit beneath Shui Tianlang's feet recovered its green color at a speed visible to the naked eye. A gust of wind blew past. The dark sky and earth that had just been blown up was restored to a green world with fresh air. The golden-crowned thorny flower queens was indeed very strong. The Divine Sun General stared coldly at Duo. His voice grew louder and louder until it became a thunderclap that shook the earth. The explosion on the ground did not work. Then what about the killing from the sky? Since you want to force me to make a move, then I will let you understand the anger of a divine general. Ants like you, have you ever seen a pillar of light from the sun? The Divine Sun General raised his hands towards the sky and condensed a light ball that looked like the sun. This was not energy. It was not an inherent skill or domain, but his guardian beast, an elemental beast that had the shape of a sun. That perfectly round sun beast spun crazily under its master's will. 36 pillars of light were like spears of light thrown by a deity, directly piercing towards Shui Tianlang, Prince of Tianluo, and the Li brothers who were looking up from the ground. Not only them, even the silent old cunning fox and Duo, who were watching from the side, were no exception. Several pillars of light shot down from above their heads. Yi Kong reacted the fastest. He jumped into the air and crashed into a small green hill on the ground. He was prepared to rely on the hill to block the incomparably powerful sunbeam piercing. Who would have thought that this kind of sunbeam could actually twist and move? It did not point at a direction and attack to the end. It moved in an arc. Under the Divine Sun General's will, it locked onto Yi Kong's figure and chased after him. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. The small green hill that came into contact with the sunbeam piercing was actually burnt to a crisp. Just like when the thunder god struck, the hill and Yi Kong turned into fine powder. In the next second, Shui Tianlang, Prince of Tianluo, the Li brothers, Fatty Hai, the old cunning fox, and even Duo were all smashed to pieces by the sunbeam piercing. On the green ground, there were dozens of crisscrossing and cutting marks that formed a nameless pattern. This is the result of angering this divine general. The Divine Sun General confirmed and discovered that the place where Duo was had also been blasted into a huge crater. There was nothing in the crater. She had probably been blasted into fine powder. The green grass could no longer be restored. Even the green field was now burning fiercely from the sunbeam piercing, turning the ground into a sea of fire. He retracted his arrogant gaze and spat disdainfully at his feet. What a rare young genius of Tong Tian Tower. What an invincible golden-crowned thorny flower queen. They were all boasting. The people of Tong Tian Tower just loved to boast. Boring idiots. After he finished speaking disdainfully, he bowed towards the middle-aged scholar who was still deep in thought. Lord Great Hall Master, I've already completed my task. Please inform me. He did not say anything. However, the expression on his face was one of arrogance, as if he was saying, "Give me a difficult task." The middle-aged scholar was still deep in thought and did not reply. The Divine Sun General looked at him and did not make a sound. He only frowned slightly and thought. What's wrong with Lord Great Hall Master? Why is he still thinking? Could it be that Yu Clan's third young master, Titan Yu, was really that scary? The Sun God General looked at Yu Yang again. He wanted to see shock and sorrow on Yu Yang's face, but unfortunately, he was disappointed. Yu Yang's face did not show any shock. There was no sorrow either. He casually poured out a cup of tea and drank it leisurely. It was a huge contrast to the middle-aged scholar who was deep in thought. Yu Yang's behavior made the Divine Sun General extremely unhappy. Although the golden-crowned thorny flower queen was a guardian beast and would not really die, it was still a heavy injury. Furthermore, his teacher and teammates had all been burnt to ashes. How could he still drink tea? What kind of mentality was this? Could it be that this Yu clan's third young master, Yu Tai Tan, who was known as the miraculous man of Tong Tian Tower, was an idiot? Yu Yang ignored him and drank his tea. TSK, TSK, sounds could be heard. However, there was another pleasant voice that sounded from behind the Divine Sun General. I originally wanted to let you be complacent for a while, but I really can't bear to see a despicable person like you get carried away with success and become so arrogant. Killing a person like you would only dirty my hands. I'll turn your guardian beast into fertilizer for my flowers. The Divine Sun General turned around in shock and realized that Duo was standing behind him. Not only was Duo there, the old cunning fox, Shui Tan Lang, Prince of Tian Luo, Yi Kong, and the Li brothers were also there. At the very back, there was a wind-breath seabird, Fatty Hai, who was carrying young Master Li Ming. What? The Divine Sun General was a little confused. He had clearly seen these people turn into ashes. How did they all revive and run to his back? Squeak! A hurried squeak came from the sky, like a frightened mouse being stared at by a venomous snake. The Divine Sun General looked up. His pupils shrunk rapidly. Like a needle, he saw an inconceivable and terrifying scene. There was a thorny flower giant that stretched his hand down from high up in the sky. As if he was picking up a round cake, he directly picked up the sun that could shoot out dozens of piercing sunlight beams at any time. He greedily took a bite out of the sun, biting out a hole in the sun. The remaining half of the sun was directly stuffed down his throat. This terrifying giant, who looked more like a thorny flower, closed its mouth and swallowed hard, waiting for the big piece of food on its neck to be swallowed. It even let out a thunder-like burp. The Divine Sun General's head felt like it was heavily punched by someone. 2 streaks of blood spurted out from his nose, and countless stars appeared in his eyes amidst the darkness. He tried his best to support his tottering body, desperately using his energy to counteract the heavy damage to his spirit. Although it was inconceivable, he was now sure that the guardian bee sun that he relied on to become famous had indeed been swallowed by the giant. This kind of swallowing was not the digestion of death, but a more advanced and despairing seal. All of its energy was stripped away, and the remaining body was forever sealed in the giant's body, becoming a part of her. The guardian beast did not die, but was sealed by the demon flower giant in a state of swallowing. This was the most terrifying result. The Divine Sun General, who had lost his guardian beast, wanted to see Duo clearly. He didn't understand how a golden-crowned thorny flower queen could have a godlike sealing power. Furthermore, she didn't seal it with her own hands, but the demon flower giant's seal with her will. What did this kind of will mean? Could it be that this girl-like golden-crowned thorny flower queen was actually a god? In my name, I bestow upon you the power of the ancient thistles. Duo no longer had the mood to talk nonsense with the Divine Sun General. She threw out a few balls of sharp light, letting them enter the bodies of Yikong, Fatty Hai, and Shui Tan Lang. Then, they turned into a ray of divine light, disappearing into the vast sky. Duo left. Fatty Hai, who had a cheeky smile on his face, came forward again. He said to the Divine Sun General in an extremely friendly manner, I understand your feelings. You, who have lost your guardian beast, can no longer act cool. How unfortunate is that? Please allow this young master to express his sympathy and condolences to you. It's my deepest sympathy and condolences. What's with that look? Are you very angry? Want to hit me? Come. Don't be courteous. Where do you want to hit this young master? Can you slap my face? Hit me hard. Don't be courteous. Scram. The Divine Sun General's mind was still in a mess. Seeing this damned fatty's noisy crows, he couldn't control himself anymore. His heavy fist landed on that oily face of his. In the next second, the Divine Sun General felt a familiar punch penetrating his nose, crushing his nasal bones and facial bones and penetrating his brain. The divine sun general, who was in so much pain that he almost fainted, realized that the damned fatty was still standing in front of him, still smiling. Not only was he not injured, he was even jumping up and down, making provocative gestures like a big black bear. A wretched and proud voice rang in his ears. "Hit me. Continue to hit me. Use more strength. Don't be like a little girl who hasn't eaten enough. What should I hit this time? If you don't want to hit my face, you can still hit my chest. Break my sternum with one punch and smash my internal organs. No, if hitting is not satisfying enough, why don't you hit my little brother? Beat me up. You must beat me up. I don't want my little brother anymore. My balls hurt so much. I really want to be beaten up. Go to hell." The divine sun general felt that this voice, which was even more annoying than a fly, was buzzing in front of him, making his mind a mess. As he was annoyed, he launched the second lightning-heavy punch according to his usual habit. The damn fatty jumped up and spread his legs wide open. The punch hit the target. Then, the sun divine general saw the fat man's face showing a very pleasurable and obscene expression. While he was in pain, he strangely found that something under his lower abdomen was broken like a broken egg. Chapter 12:52. The middle-aged scholar, who was playing chess with Yu Yang, had already transferred the image of the vast land to another scenic area. It was a shadow submerged under the water. Waterworld, Black Tower. That was the place where Emperor Wu Shuang, the strongest man in the previous era of Tongtian Tower, was sealed. This Emperor Wu Shuang, who was still sealed, was an existence older than Queen Vivian Li, who was determined to sweep the heaven realm. His appearance truly ruled the chaotic demonic abyss and became the first demonic abyss emperor in history. Yu Yang had fought with the skeleton man, Crow, and female ghosts who were still sealed under Emperor Wu Shuang, and learned a lot from them. Although Yu Yang had not yet met Emperor Wu Shuang, he felt that Emperor Wu Shuang should be at the same level as Master Ji Wuri's Temple Supreme. Compared to the mysterious man who fought hard in the mountain beyond mountain, he didn't know how much stronger he was. What does this mean? Yu Yang understood what the middle-aged scholar wanted to do at a glance, but he still pretended to be confused and deliberately did not understand the other party's meaning. "I have talked to Emperor Wu Shuang, and he has agreed to officially leave the Black Tower that has been sealed for tens of thousands of years and participate in this battle." There was no complacency on the middle-aged scholar's face, and his expression had recovered from the initial surprise to the present calmness. "Even if he comes out, he may not be your pawn." Yu Yang doubted. "I used a third of the god's ruins as a condition, and he agreed." The middle-aged scholar patiently explained to Yu Yang, "Well, even if he is willing to be your pawn, he has been sealed for tens of thousands of years and suffered. What strength does he have?" Yu Yang continued to doubt. Emperor Wu Shuang is not a punishing seal, but a punishing seal. If he wanted to leave, he could have done so at any time since 10,000 years ago. But in order to eliminate the sins he committed in the past, he voluntarily stayed in the Black Tower to reflect. That is to say, he has long recovered his peak strength, and he has improved in tens of thousands of years of punishment. The middle-aged scholar replied with certainty, "Apart from that martial maniac Tianyu, in the whole world, I'm afraid no one is his opponent. I can guarantee this 100%. You hired such an expert with a third of the treasures in the god's ruins?" Yu Yang was really puzzled. When did experts become so worthless? Because Tianyu also needs a third. The middle-aged scholar's words gave Yu Yang a huge fright. "Tianyu, he can't be your chess piece." Yu Yang was absolutely sure. "Indeed not." The middle-aged scholar agreed, but he doesn't mind coming to Tongtian Tower and taking a third of the treasures in the god's ruins. "The other third belongs to you?" Yu Yang frowned. He felt that things were a bit troublesome. First, the awakening of Emperor Wu Shuang, and then the arrival of Tianyu. Asked the world, was there a worse situation than these two guys appearing at the same time to participate in the war? Even with the help of Her Majesty Queen Vivian Li, Yu Yang's heart was not sure now. After all, Her Majesty Queen Vivian Li could only offset one, and it was impossible to fight against, too. No, I only want the remaining one-third. The middle-aged scholar's face began to show a smile. The other four-fifths have other reasonable arrangements. Who are they? Yu Yang's heart was beating like a drum, but on his face, he still forced himself to be calm. You may not know the demon emperor of the heaven realm. That is the demon clan's heavenly bird supreme. Except for the dragon-eating, great golden-winged eagle and the three-legged golden crow of the Tang Valley, all the heavenly birds of the demon clan are under his control. Tell me, for such an existence to come and help us, wouldn't it be worth the remaining one-third? When he said this, even Yu Yang felt that he had made a huge profit. To be able to use the remaining one-fifth to invite such an awesome existence to participate in the battle, this was simply a free profit. You and the Demon Emperor will each take one-fifth. Who will the remaining three-fifths belong to? Yu Yang felt that it was no longer itchy to have too many fleas, and it would be even more lively if a few more super experts came. Anyway, fighting one boss was the same as fighting a few more bosses he no longer cared. There is one, you may know him. He is the father of the 8th Prince Wu Hai, the lord of the three-legged golden crow clan of the Tang Valley, Jin Di. The other one is the founder of the Central Shrine Elders Guild, the immovable sovereign. The middle-aged scholar looked at Yu Yang with a smile, and slowly placed the chess piece in his hand on the stone surface. As for the remaining one-fifth, I am too lazy to distribute it, so I will directly hand it over to the 5 big shots from the Eastern Heaven Realm, Southern Heaven Realm, and Western Heaven Realm, and let them distribute it as they wish. All right, the big shot from the Western Heaven Realm participating in the battle is your acquaintance Void. Although he has been sealed by the Prison Emperor for thousands of years, and his strength is far behind that of the other 4 big shots, and he may not be able to get any benefits, but due to his hatred towards Tong Tian Tower and you, he still willingly came. I have no enmity with him. If it wasn't for me removing the seal, Void might still be trapped in the Prison Emperor Divine Palace, unable to come out. Yu Yang sneered. It was fine if this guy did not treat him to a meal with tears of gratitude, but he still dared to bite the hand that fed him. Looks like he was the same as Dong Fong, the traitor of Tong Tian Tower. He was also an ungrateful wretch. The middle-aged scholar looked at Yu Yang, a little puzzled. His move was undoubtedly very beautiful, but why did this brat seem a little off? He didn't seem to be too flustered. Could it be that he was scared silly? Or perhaps he had another way to break the seal? Honestly speaking, Yu Yang didn't have any other way. A bunch of brainless bosses came to Tong Tian Tower to bully him. Whether he knew them or not, whether he had heard of them or not, they all came. What the hell could he do? However, for Yu Yang, who was used to challenging difficult bosses, this really couldn't scare him. From the beginning, he had grown up in difficult battles. Facing enemies that were so strong that they couldn't be defeated, he was already used to it. It would be strange if he didn't. That year, Yu Yang, who was born in the super difficult mode in the River Crab Celestial Empire, didn't have any extra luck to top up his points and couldn't become a rich second-generation player. Didn't he still manage to survive? No matter how difficult this battle was, could it be difficult to live in the River Crab Celestial Empire? Yu Yang, who had been doing very well after his transmigration, was very calm. Fighting one boss, fighting a group of boss was also the same. Furthermore, there were benefits to fighting more bosses. That was the problem of dividing the loot evenly. According to the current distribution, it was naturally reasonable, and there was no problem. However, Yu Yang, who had heard of the big pot rice before, knew that if the big pot rice was cooked and everyone ate it together, in the end, someone would definitely starve to death. The fable of 3 monks without water to eat was not for nothing. That's all. Yu Yang felt that his little heart was almost scared out of his wits, but fortunately, it wasn't scared to death. Wouldn't it be a little abrupt to introduce so many friends to you at once? The middle-aged scholar was still thinking about Yu Yang. It's fine. I like having more friends. It's lively. Yu Yang waved his hand and said heroically, however, there's no need to introduce small fries. No matter what, I'm still a person with status. There's no need to know small fries. You're too good. The middle-aged scholar agreed and smiled as he looked at Yu Yang. He asked kindly, How about the self-proclaimed prison emperor, you clan's third young master? How are you going to deal with this? Let's play chess. No need to be polite. If you feel that it's a little difficult, I can give you some leeway. After all, I'm still your senior. This time, it was Yu Yang's turn to ponder deeply. The enemy's chess moves were starting to become clear, but how should he counterattack first? Boundless Earth. The battle had already ended. They managed to capture young Master Li Ming and beat up the arrogant Divine Sun General to death. The battle in the vast land was a great success. This result had even exceeded Fatty High's expectations. Taking advantage of the effects of Duo's ancient forest and ancient thistles, Fatty High, Yi Kong, and the others hurriedly left Boundless Earth to welcome a new battle. The old fox waited for the thorny flower giant left behind by Duo to completely devour the Sun God General. Only then did he look at young Master Li Ming, who was tied up by the god-binding chains. How should he make use of this special hostage? It was very obvious that young Master Li Ming had already become an abandoned chess piece. His father, Dong Fong, did not care about his life or death at all. However, even so, this young Master Li Ming was still very valuable. If they could capture him, it would undoubtedly be a good trump card in their hands. Actually, seeing the old fox walking closer, young Master Li Ming suddenly opened his swollen eyes. His voice was calm and clear. "I'm not an idiot. What are you trying to say?" The old fox felt strange. What did he mean? Ever since that Duo appeared, I knew that I couldn't do anything. When I saw my father's eyes, I knew that I was destined to become an abandoned chess piece. From then on, I started to pretend to be an idiot. Young Master Li Ming's body suddenly disappeared in front of the old fox. Replacing him in the god-binding chains was a golden doll that looked exactly like him. On top of young Master Li Ming's head, there was a green leaf that shone with a spiritual light. This natural spiritual light enveloped young Master Li Ming's body, causing his entire body to mysteriously become transparent and invisible. The old fox was shocked. This young Master Li Ming actually had a way to escape. Young Master Li Ming waved his hands, signaling him not to worry. "Mr. Shui Dong Lu, I didn't mean to offend you. I also didn't mean to become Yu Clan's third young master's enemy. I understand now. Titan Yu is not an existence that I can offend. Moreover, from the moment I was abandoned and was destined to become an abandoned chess piece, I decided to walk on a path that completely belonged to me. In the end, I still have to thank you and Yu Clan's third young master. Although you didn't mean it, you actually gave me this kind of opportunity. Because I was abandoned, I could finally get rid of my father and truly obtain freedom. You don't know, living in a chessboard, being controlled by others everywhere like a puppet. That kind of life is so unfortunate and painful. I pretended to be smart in front of you, and also in front of my father. I made everyone think that I was an ignorant and incompetent hedonistic young master who had a body full of treasures. That's right, I have always acted like this in front of others. Especially under my father's supervision. I have to show off my intelligence everywhere. Pretending to be smart is the biggest way to pretend to be an idiot. If I always pretend to be an idiot, I wouldn't have been able to live until today. I always pretend to be smart, making people think that this outstanding young Master Li Ming is only limited to this. Ha ha ha. Actually, I don't even need any treasures. I already have enough strength to protect myself. He's just a divine general of the Sun Clan. He's nothing but a loyal dog under my father's command. But with him by my side, I'm like a clown. Even if I'm eye-catching, I don't have any weight. Young Master Li Ming suddenly bowed towards the old fox. I can't beat you, and I have been humiliated in front of you. Why are you bowing to me? The old fox laughed and asked back. You have a strong disciple. This is one of the reasons why I respect you. You have unfathomable wisdom. You can vaguely see through my act of pretending to be stupid. You purposely let Haida Fu and Yi Kong keep me alive. Then you killed the Sun God General and threw him to the Demon Flower Giant to eat, eliminating my worries. This is the second reason why I respect you. Young Master Li Ming nodded his head with incomparable sincerity. If I can be humiliated, I can get rid of my fate of being controlled by others and obtain freedom. So what? If I didn't use this method, how would I be able to escape safely under my father's watch? I was indeed a little suspicious, but I didn't expect you to actually have such wisdom and determination. The old fox slowly nodded his head, admitting that his previous actions weren't unintentional. Freedom, I have desired it for thousands of years. Paying a little price in exchange is very reasonable. Young Master Li Ming raised his head towards the sky. My dream is to have my own little world in the heaven realm. Becoming an independent region emperor is my biggest dream. In the heaven realm where the strong preys on the weak, generally speaking, becoming a region emperor is considered to be more stable. This is because it's not easy to threaten others, and it's also difficult for others to threaten you. After I leave Tong Tian Tower, I will concentrate on training and strive to achieve this goal. Please tell Titan Yu that I have no intention of becoming his enemy, no matter if it's in the heaven realm or Tong Tian Tower. I wish you success. Have a good journey. A ray of wisdom flashed across the old fox's eyes as he sincerely gave his blessings. Please tell Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, and the others, as well as your disciple, that I don't feel that it's shameful and I won't bear a grudge against them. Although it's impossible for us to become friends, I believe that I will never become their enemy again. Young Master Li Ming pulled out the golden arrows from his body one by one and passed them to the old fox. They don't know any better. Everything they do is based on their hot-bloodedness. The old fox thanked him and received the golden arrows that were stained with blood. This is the benefit of being young. I was the same when I was young. In comparison, they are so lucky. Even if they make a mistake, there's still Titan Yu behind them. I definitely can't make a mistake. Young Master Li Ming had an envious expression as he waved his hand. A golden door appeared in front of him. He opened it. That golden door split open from the void, revealing a passage that led to an unknown place. Young Master Li Ming turned into a ray of golden light and entered the passage, disappearing without a trace. Chapter 1253. Yu Yang, who was playing chess, kept silent. He did not move. The middle-aged scholar waited quietly, appearing to be very patient. There was no reason for him to feel annoyed in a game where he was destined to win in the end. Only those who were about to lose would be angry and restless, feeling that everything was not going his way. For example, Yu Yang was extremely annoyed. He slapped the chess piece and shouted, "What kind of **T chess piece is this? It doesn't even feel good when I touch it. Can't you use a slightly better jade stone to make the chess piece? This kind of lousy chess piece, even if you hold it in your hands, there's no inspiration at all." Everyone knew that playing chess had nothing to do with the chess pieces. The quality of the chess pieces had nothing to do with the result. Those who felt that it was related were all the same kind of people. That was people who were about to lose. Yu Yang looked like this kind of person. The middle-aged scholar looked at him and changed his perspective. He imagined himself as the Yu clan's third young master. He would feel a splitting headache if he were to face deity palaces Ji Zun, Wu Shuanghuang, Wu Shi, Yao Di, Jin Di, and Ji Zun. Not to mention the few in front, even the 5 great leaders of the East, West, and South Heaven realms who were ranked below them were definitely not people to be trifled with. In the past, the prison emperor sacrificed himself to seal the 3 great leaders of the West Heaven realm. The current Yu Yang not only had to face up to 5 great leaders of the Heaven realm at the same time, he also had to face the even stronger Tian Yu, Wu Shi, Yao Di, Jin Di, and Ji Zun. The 10 of them were like 10 huge mountains. Any one of them would make people unable to breathe. Now that all 10 of them were here, how could people not be worried and distressed? The middle-aged scholar put himself in Titan Yu's shoes. He felt that if he were Titan Yu and had the trump card in his hand, under the pressure of 10 powerful enemies, there would only be death. He couldn't win. Winning this chess game was even harder than ascending to heaven. Thinking for this Yu clan third young master, he could not think of any way to win. Thinking for himself, he could not think of any reason to lose. Under such circumstances, The middle-aged scholar felt that he could slightly let go of his 10,000 years of depression and scheming and quietly wait for the fruits of victory that he had planted and cultivated 10,000 years ago to ripen. Now was the time to enjoy the pain and madness of the enemy, and to take revenge and vent the frustration from 10,000 years ago. The middle-aged scholar looked up at the sky, and a cold smile appeared on his lips. Those fools who misjudged me and refused to support me to ascend to the top of the tower of Tong Tian, if your souls are not far away, then use your eyes to see. Because of your stubbornness and mistakes, you have lost the best successor. Because of you, Tong Tian Tower has completely fallen and been destroyed. The original supreme glory will no longer exist, and it will become a disgrace that will never be washed away, a stink that will go down for 10,000 years. This is your choice. It's because of you, because you didn't choose me, that Skysplit Tower has become like this. Everything that has gone wrong is because of you. Skysplit Tower, if I can't get it, then no one can get it. If I can't get it, then I will destroy it with my own hands. I want to turn this beautiful homeland that rejected me into a true purgatory. I want to turn it into an abyss of despair where millions of lives are plunged into misery and suffering. I want the blood of hundreds of millions of people to flow like rivers for it. I want millions of unfortunate people to be buried in it and let out their last painful wails. The middle-aged scholar slowly clenched his fists as if he was holding the fate of Tong Tian Tower and the throat of hundreds of millions of people. Pa! Yu Yang suddenly angrily slammed the chess piece on the stone table, making a strange noise. Although his expression was not flustered and exasperated, it was definitely not a scheme in his heart. Seeing this move, the middle-aged scholar's face showed a friendly smile, and he advised, "Little friend, you cannot be impulsive when playing chess. You must know that sometimes a single move can decide the direction of the whole situation. Patience and observation are very important. Are you sure you want to take this step? Are you really sure? How about this? Seeing that you are my junior from the same hometown, I will let you take a step back. You should think carefully first. It won't be too late to take another step. No need, as your junior. That is a kind of shame. It's best not to mention it ever again." Yu Yang stared at the middle-aged scholar with a sword-like gaze. If his gaze was really a sword, it was estimated that there would be hundreds of holes in the middle-aged scholar's body. When I play chess, I can play however I want. If you don't like it, you can kill yourself. The person who wins won't kill himself. Suicide is usually done by the person who loses. The middle-aged scholar laughed when he heard this. "I didn't lose." Yu Yang snorted heavily. "You haven't lost yet, but you will probably lose soon." The middle-aged scholar didn't think that this kid had any chance to turn the tables. He looked at the chessboard and suddenly reached out to point at the white chess piece on the stone table. He smiled at Yu Yang. "This chess piece of mine is the Peerless Emperor, a big chess piece that can eat up all the other chess pieces. Can this chess piece of yours block it? This is also a big chess piece." Yu Yang signaled the middle-aged scholar not to move his chess piece. "Your big chess piece, how big is it?" The middle-aged scholar didn't think that this chess piece that was full of masculinity and domineeringness could block his peerless emperor. To be able to block the peerless emperor, it must be conquering Empress Fei Wenli. Unfortunately, this wasn't her. Moreover, even if this chess piece was blocked by her, what about the deity temple supreme Tianyu, demon sovereign, Jin Di, and Jizun? Who would block it? Yu Yang once again pushed the black chess piece that the middle-aged scholar was about to clear out of the chessboard back to its original position and warned solemnly, "Don't touch this young master's chess piece. Of course I have my reasons for doing this. Your chess piece is the peerless emperor. Is he very big? My chess piece is the Mo Long who swept the entire heaven realm in the past. To block your peerless emperor is just a piece of cake." Mo Long? The middle-aged scholar was stunned. He didn't understand how this brat Yu Tai Tan would know a powerful person like the Mo Long. Thus, he frowned and looked at Yu Yang as he retorted, "You don't recognize Mo Long from the root in the Mo dragon. I don't know Mo Long. I was the one who let him out. How could I not know him? Yu Yang laughed coldly and retorted, in this world, besides me, who else can remove his seal? Besides this young master, who else would desperately cling to my thighs, crying and shouting to recognize me as a relative? If it wasn't for him crying so pitifully, he would want to be my big brother. Dream on. Even if Mo Long is your big brother, he wouldn't come to Tong Tian Tower, let alone become enemies with the peerless emperor. The middle-aged scholar suddenly laughed out loud. Why? This time, it was Yu Yang who didn't understand. Because he just got out of the seal not long ago. He hasn't recovered to his peak state yet. The middle-aged scholar laughed and shook his head. He must be hiding now, hiding in an extremely secluded place to heal himself. Even if you want to find him, you won't be able to find him. Can't I inform him through the grimoire? Yu Yang expressed that it was very easy to send a message. Impossible. The middle-aged scholar still shook his head. Only those who possess the Tong Tian key can make the grimoire of Tong Tian Tower send out a direct message in a short period of time. For example, sending out a conscription order or sending you a direct message. Other than this method, there is no other way. In other words, Mo Long is not a person of Tong Tian Tower. He will never be able to obtain your information. Moreover, the direct message will not flow to him, because the person the entire Tong Tian Tower is looking for is you, the Yu clan's third young master, and not the Mo Long who no one knows. The last thing I want to say is that the Tong Tian key was offered by me, because after it is used, the whole of Tong Tian Tower will not be able to send out a second summoning order or any other directional message within a year. The Tong Tian Tower's summoning grimoire will be silent for a year to recover its energy. Don't look at me like that, Yu clan's third young master. Maybe you think that I'm not a smart person, but in reality, I'm not any dumber than you, and I'm not any slower than you. I just don't have the kind of destiny that the heavens favor you. The middle-aged scholar picked up the black chess piece that Yu Yang had slapped on the chessboard and threw it away. He felt that. This was a wasted move. However, at this time, a hand suddenly stretched out from the heaven and earth. The hand stretched out from thousands of miles away and easily caught the chess piece. Then, with a light toss, the chess piece was thrown back to the position where Yu Yang was standing. Just as the middle-aged scholar's face changed, a lazy and overbearing voice sounded. Actually, I'm not a person who likes to meddle in other people's business. However, if someone bullies our door and scares our children to tears, as a big brother, there is no reason for me not to stand up and say something. Although I've been sealed for 100,000 years, don't treat me as if I don't exist, okay? It has always been me who bullies others. I didn't expect that after 100,000 years, someone would actually bully my door. If the Supreme Dragon God knew about this, I'm afraid that he would break my legs. Mo Long, the middle-aged scholar roared, it's really you. I'm very sorry that your plan failed. You're so smart, but you never thought that I would hide in Tong Tian Tower to recover, right? It's just a small fight. If a child wants to play house, as a senior, I shouldn't meddle in other people's business. But you mother ***, you can't treat me as if I don't exist. If you want to bully me, wait until I die and stand on my grave before you boast, okay? That lazy and overbearing voice reprimanded the middle-aged scholar as if he was lecturing a child. In front of him, the middle-aged scholar who had lived for thousands of years could barely be considered as a brat who played with urine. You want to be on equal footing? Live for another 100,000 years, and then we'll discuss this again. Okay? The middle-aged scholar's face changed again, but he was still calm and composed. Mo Long, who had not recovered to his peak state, was nothing at all. It was hard to say whether he could block Emperor Wu Shuang's peerless attack. Even if he could block it, the deity Templar Supreme Tian Yu, Goblin Emperor Jin Di, and the unmoving Ji Zun would not just stand by and watch. Taking advantage of a weakened state to forcefully kill a heaven realm Mo Long was definitely a good opportunity that only appeared once in 1,000 years. Anyone who knew about it would be tempted. Perhaps this battle would not only trap the Yu clan's third young master, but also capture the Mo Long in one fell swoop. Brat, I'm your big brother. I did have the intention to hug your thigh, but I definitely didn't cry. Did I cry? That was excitement. The lazy and overbearing voice snorted. I treat you so well. Remember to put in a good word for me in front of the supreme dragon god in the future. It would be best if he could marry a super beautiful daughter to me. At most, I will consider marrying her to your son after I give birth to a daughter. F***CK off. Yu Yang scolded angrily. With your looks, you still want to marry the dragon princess? Have you been in prison for too long that you become a love-struck fool? Quickly, Scram. I need you to save the situation now, but you still want to put on airs here. Will you die if you don't brag for a while? Damn, I cared about you for nothing. The M.O. Long, who was scolded, was speechless. Who cares about you? If you have the ability, go and get rid of Tian Yu. Other than beauties, Yu Yang didn't need anyone's care. If I could get rid of Tian Yu now, why would I still be here? I would have already gone to the central shrine to fight for territory. Even that brat peerless world would be hard to deal with. Don't expect me, who just got out of prison, to be so powerful that I can fight against 10 people at once. I really can't brag. The M.O. Long was afraid that Yu Yang would give him another task. Before he finished speaking, his breath had already disappeared and he slipped away. You've seen the first step. Now, I'm going to take the second step. Who says that I'll definitely lose? Yu Yang looked back at the middle-aged scholar and slammed another black chess piece on the stone table. Chapter 1254. The middle-aged scholar frowned at Yu Yang's second step. He did not understand. Why did he have to take this step like this? Yu Yang did not care. There's a reason for this. No matter how others questioned it, as long as he felt it was right. Your second step is to fight the demonic emperor? The middle-aged scholar really could not understand. Other than the peerless Emperor Wu Shuang, the second person titan you had to deal with was the demon emperor and not Supreme Gene, the lord of the three-legged golden crow of the Valley of Tang, who had a certain relationship with him. Nor was it the head elder of the Central Divine Palace, the revered martial artist of the immovable martial artist, and the revered martial artist of the Divine Palace. It was not even the 5 great leaders of the North, South, and West Alliance. This step was neither to fight the strongest nor to attack the weakest. Instead, it was to fight the demon emperor in the middle. What's the problem? Yu Yang pretended to be puzzled and asked, Isn't the temple Ji Zun the strongest? Why did you abandon him? The middle-aged scholar reminded, The temple Ji Zun is not your pawn. Yu Yang denied it immediately. Since the temple Ji Zun was not your pawn, then it was none of his business. How I deal with it is my business. I will do whatever I want. It's none of your business. The temple Ji Zun did not listen to me, but I have successfully convinced the immovable Ji Zun to join the battle. The middle-aged scholar looked at Yu Yang, waiting to see how he would explain not to fight the central shrine's head elder Ji Zun. Yu Yang spread out his hands, shrugged his shoulders, and laughed. Just by hearing this guy's name, I can tell what kind of person he is. He is called the immovable Ji Zun, so he is naturally a lazy person. Moreover, he is very cunning, hiding behind you. How could he come out before the divine hall Ji Zun comes out? He must be the last to come out. Why should I care about him now? The middle-aged scholar was stunned. Then he smiled. He clapped his hands and praised. As expected of the peerless genius Yu Clan's third young master. Your deduction is extremely bold, but also very normal. I admire you. If the immovable, honorable martial artist would not be mobilized in the first battle, then what about Supreme Gene, the leader of the three-legged Golden Crow clan? His entire clan was once greatly indebted to the central shrine. Back then, they were chased out of the immortal tribe and had no home to return to. Unfortunately, they had enemies everywhere. It was the central shrine who took them in on their own accord that allowed them to settle down in the heaven and earth realm. Let's not talk about this for now. Supreme Gene and I have a deep friendship, and we are extraordinary. Now that I'm asking for his help, he will definitely not be biased because of your friendship with 8th Prince Wu Hai. Do you really think it's okay to ignore him? Yu Yang shook his head lightly. Of course I won't turn a deaf ear to him. In fact, I'm going to send a little sister over to persuade him to give up. The middle-aged scholar burst into laughter. Perhaps you think that it's effective, but unfortunately, I have to tell you that a young little Qilin is not enough to dissuade Supreme Jean. Yu Yang insisted. If she can't persuade me, I still have two younger sisters. They can definitely do it. No. When the middle-aged scholar heard this, he shook his head and waved his hand. Even with the addition of the two dragon ladies from the War God Guards and your secret weapon, the hornless dragon, it's still impossible to dissuade Supreme Jean. Supreme Jean doesn't dare to harm the immortal tribe, but he won't listen to them, who have no morals at all. As long as he doesn't kill the immortal tribe, it doesn't matter even if he razes the entire Tong Tian Tower to the ground. The immortal tribe will definitely not muster a large force for him. I've thought about this a long time ago. If we don't try, how will we know the real result? Besides, there's no harm in trying. Yu Yang remained unmoved and insisted on his own opinion. Up to you. The middle-aged scholar nodded his head obediently, no longer objecting. No problem. Let's stop the game. I'm tired today. Let's call it a day and continue tomorrow. Yu Yang acted as if he did not realize that this was a battle of life and death. He was really like a professional chess player in a competition. He stretched his back and suggested a shocking pause to rest. If you need it, it's fine to rest for 3 days. The middle-aged scholar completely agreed. To the final victor, nothing else mattered. Then let's call it a day. Yu Yang casually threw the chess piece on the table. Please allow me to remind you that the 5 great leaders are not weak, especially when the 5 of them fight together. It's no small matter. Don't forget about them. You can't go back on your words when you play chess. Once you make a move, it's already a foregone conclusion. Sometimes it's too late to regret. The middle-aged scholar kindly reminded Yu Yang. If you didn't remind me, I would have almost forgotten about it. However, the 5 great leaders have their own people to deal with them. I don't have to worry about this. Yu Yang took out the 3-realm compass and teleported instantly. The middle-aged scholar concentrated and pondered. After muttering to himself for a while, he suddenly stretched out his hand and picked up the chess piece that Yu Yang had just played, which represented the demon dragon. His expression was startled at first, as if he was very surprised, but his eyebrows immediately relaxed. He smiled and said, "It's really fake. There's no demon dragon participating in the battle at all. Otherwise, this chess piece can't be picked up at all. This brat, what kind of beast did he use to deceive me? He can even deceive my chess talent? This is really unbelievable. However, deceiving the chess piece is useless. After deceiving this move, you need to make 10 moves back and forth. It's already bold enough to let go of Ji Zun and Ji Zun. I didn't expect you to let go of Emperor Wu Shuang too. Huh. Do you think that Emperor Wu Shuang would take the initiative to fight against Ji Zun just because Tong Tian Tower was invaded by the Central Shrine? You're dreaming. Unfortunately, you don't know what kind of person Emperor Wu Shuang is and what relationship he has with Ji Zun. How can your little thoughts compare to my meticulous planning? The 5 great leaders, you plan to use the conquering queen to fight against them. No wonder you would rather let go of Supreme Jean and Ji Zun. It turns out that you still have such thoughts. Failure. This kind of planning is bound to fail. But I like it. Only this kind of feeling where the world is a chess piece, all things are pieces, and victory is in my grasp, is my dream life. The middle-aged scholar murmured to himself. As various changes took place in the various scenic spots in the image, his face bloomed with a kind of satisfied and happy light, like a master who is obsessed with art creating a peerless classic work. I have to continue to plan. I can't let that cunning brat have any chance to reverse the situation. The middle-aged scholar immediately calmed down. He gently put the chess piece representing the demon dragon back to its original position, carefully looked at the chess game, and slightly adjusted the position of his own chess piece. After feeling that it was super perfect, his body turned into a golden light and disappeared from the void. At the same time, Yu Yang had returned to the entrance of Tian Luo Palace. When he teleported back, the guards at the entrance of the palace, who were on high alert, secretly heaved a sigh of relief. This was because there was a strong enemy coming. With their strength, it was impossible for them to protect His Majesty. Now that Yu Yang had rushed back and blocked all the pressure, they finally had some time to take a breather. Standing in front of them, unknowingly, there were already 5 uninvited guests, although they did not know the level of their strength. Even the weakest palace guard knew that these 5 people were definitely Heaven Realm rankers who could destroy the world with a wave of their hands. In front of them, the resolute General Monolith could not even stand up straight. His head drooped down, his knees bent, and his back felt as if there were 5 huge mountains pressing down on it. Every time his body trembled, he could not support himself anymore. Only when Yu Yang returned did he fall to the ground with a pa sound. His whole body collapsed. Yu Yang looked from the left. According to the order, there were the 9-headed snake, 9-headed worm, 9-headed bird, 9-headed goblin, and 9-headed monster. With Heaven Eye's divine vision, he could see the real bodies of these Eastern Goblin tribe members, but he could not figure out who was the Goblin Emperor. Among these 5 9-headed tribe members, was the 9-headed snake the Goblin Emperor or the 9-headed worm? According to the position, the 9-headed bird in the middle seemed more reasonable. If it was according to the real bodies, it was more likely to be the 9-headed goblin, and there was also a 9-headed monster at the end. These 5 9-headed tribe members, on the surface, not only did they look similar, their real bodies were similar, even their strength was similar. The 9-headed snake was very similar to the 9-headed worm. The 9-headed bird had wings, and so did the 9-headed goblin. The 9-headed demon had the body of a black tortoise, but the 9-headed monster was similar as well. So who was the real Goblin Emperor? If the real Goblin Emperor was among the 5 of them, then Yu Yang had to be even more vigilant. Because if he could not see the real strength of the Goblin Emperor with his Heaven Eye's divine vision, then the next battle would be extremely difficult. At the very least, the strength of the Goblin Emperor was far beyond Yu Yang's imagination. In the mountain beyond mountain, the mysterious man's strength was extremely strong, and the evil deities Wei Guang had suppressed Yu Yang to the point of suffocation, but their strength was still within Yu Yang's imagination. If the strength of the Goblin Emperor was much stronger than the mysterious man or the evil deities Wei Guang, then this battle would be unbearable. Which one of you is the Goblin Emperor? Yu Yang looked again and really could not tell. Whoever you think is the Goblin Emperor is. The 9-headed snake standing on the far left looked at Yu Yang with a smile. You are quite an interesting kid. How about this? If you are willing to share half of the God's ruins with us, then we will do you a favor and watch from the sidelines. Dream on. Yu Yang rejected immediately. The God's ruins is not yours. If not for the fact that you are related to us, why would we waste our time talking to you? We would just kill you in one move. The 9-headed bug's voice was almost the same as the 9-headed snake's, and even Yu Yang could not tell the difference. But Yu Yang was sure that this was indeed the 9-headed bug's voice, and not the 9-headed snake's voice. Kill me in one move? Yu Yang laughed out loud, and he hooked his finger at the 5 of them. Come, let's try it. It's not good to kill you. I reckon that once we make a move, the other side will send someone over to seal us. We can't take this kind of loss. Those old fellows from the celestial race are too protective, and we have no one behind us. Being sealed is a light punishment, and they might really get angry and beat us to death. We won't fall for it. The 9-headed bird's voice was sharper, and he laughed strangely. However, as long as we don't kill you, it shouldn't be a problem to beat you up until you look for your teeth all over the ground. This is the most basic bottom line, and we can still control it. Today, you've beaten me up until I look for my teeth all over the ground. Who knows? Maybe tomorrow I'll bring people to your door and exterminate your entire clan. Your 9-headed clan? Are you sure you want to be my enemy? Yu Yang warned coldly. The God's ruins is too tempting. Even if I'm afraid, I'll give it a try. The 9-headed monster's voice was the clearest, and his attitude was the friendliest. You really shouldn't take something that doesn't belong to you. Yu Yang sighed. We won't take it. Once we've captured you, you can take it out and split it with us. We won't be greedy, just half will do. The 9-headed monster expressed that there was still a way. For example, capturing Yu Yang was the best way at the moment. The reason why they rushed to the Tian Luo Palace in advance was because they wanted to capture Yu Yang before Supreme Jin and the immovable honorable martial artist. Then, they would slowly think of a way to obtain the treasures in the God's ruins. As the higher-ups of the Eastern Goblin tribe, they were well aware of the many rules in the East. If they were asked to kill Yu Yong for no reason and rob him of his treasures, they would never do it. However, if they could capture Yu Yong, then it shouldn't be a big problem. The only people they had to be wary of were Supreme Gene and the immovable, honorable martial artist in their alliance. Do you think I'll just let myself be captured? Yu Yong laughed coldly. Of course not. The nine-headed snake shook his head and looked at Yu Yong seriously. However, we have enough time. Even if we slowly grind you down, we can still capture you. Originally, the nine-headed clan only needed one person, but all 5 of us have come. Our goal is to obtain the treasures in the gods' ruins without fail. Let's make a bet. If you guys win, then I have nothing to say. However, if I win, then you guys will immediately get out of Tong Tian Tower and never have any ideas about this place again. Tong Tian Tower, this is my territory. Yu Yong slowly condensed He Gui Song by Shuanghua and Qi Xiaolian. He looked at the 5 people in front of him and issued the craziest challenge and bet of 1 against 5. Chapter 1255. Just as Yu Yong and the Nine-Head clan were about to start a war, suddenly, a few people flew over from the sky. The leader was a handsome man with gorgeous battle armor and 2 dragon heads inlaid on each of his shoulders. Following closely behind him was a mysterious man who was covered in a black dragon armor. His face was hidden under the mask, revealing only a pair of sharp, shining eyes. A step behind him was a beautiful queen who was hovering in the air with flames rising all over her body. In her hand was a fiery whip with thorns that looked like a dragon's tail. Following at the back were 4 barbarians with different faces, but their bodies were all muscular. The shortest of them was more than 5 meters tall, and the tallest was more than 6 meters tall. When they landed on the ground, they looked like 4 small mountains crashing onto the ground. Wait a minute. Don't rush to start the war. The handsome man in gorgeous battle armor waved his hand elegantly. His expression was like seeing an old friend that he had not seen for many years. It's you? Double-headed dragon Guong. A playboy like you, why don't you hide in the heaven realm and play with women? What are you doing here? The nine-headed snake and nine-headed bug didn't seem to have a good impression of this handsome man. If your Eastern Goblin tribe can come to Tong Tian Tower, why can't I come? The handsome man called Double-Headed Dragon Guong smiled. Palace Master Dong Fong is the owner of Tong Tian Tower. He invited us to come with you. It's reasonable for us to come here. The mysterious man covered in black dragon armor had a strange blue light with a hint of purple in his eyes. He didn't look at the 5 people from the Nine-Head clan. Instead, he looked at Yu Yong from top to bottom. Although he couldn't see his expression, he felt that he was very interested in Yu Yong. Hee, I was invited to Tong Tian Tower, but I didn't get any benefits. Palace Master Dong Fong is too heartless. This handsome guy is easier to talk to. I heard you guys talking about the gods' ruins just now. Why don't you let us participate in it? Our Celestial Dragon clan is definitely not as greedy as the Nine-Head clan. We dare not say that we can take half of the gods' ruins, but as long as we can get 1/10 of it, we will be satisfied. The beautiful queen, who was surrounded by raging flames and floating in the air, charmingly threw Yu Yong an electrifying glance. Little handsome boy, as long as you nod your head and agree to give our Heavenly Dragon clan 1/10 of the treasures in the gods' ruins, we will definitely not object. We can even consider helping you send away some greedy bandits. What do you think? With just you guys? Nine-Headed Bird laughed strangely. We have 7, and you only have 5. In terms of numbers, we have the advantage, don't we? The handsome twin-headed dragon, Guong, shrugged. Are you sure there are only 5 of us? Besides, are you sure there are 7 of you? The nine-headed monster spat in disdain. I can kill those 4 behind you with 1 hand. What? The 4 barbarians, who were like small mountains, were angry. They roared continuously, and their voices carried the power of a dragon's roar. There are many kinds of dragons. There are many in the Eastern clan and Western clan. However, the 4 of you, even in the Western clan, are just lizards with big bellies. You can't even be called dragons. No matter how much you boast, we will not admit it. The nine-headed demon touched his face and laughed self-mockingly. Our nine-head clan is more like a dragon than you guys. Our abilities are far above yours, but we still don't dare to call ourselves dragons. With just you guys, you dare to call yourselves dragons? Don't you feel ashamed? Everyone has their own standards. There is nothing much to say. The handsome twin-headed dragon Guong waved his hand and said, "No matter what your standards are, we are also dragons. The brothers behind us are all overlords of the heaven realm. They are famous for tens of thousands of years. They are not people that you can erase with just one sentence." All right, then pretend I didn't say anything. The nine-headed demon gave up on this topic. Do you guys think that I, your master, don't exist? Yu Yang realized that he was being ignored. This kind of feeling was really not good. Of course not. Handsome little brother. We're just waiting for you to say one sentence. As long as you nod your head, we can immediately turn from enemies to friends. The beautiful queen, whose body was covered in flames, looked at Yu Yang with a smile. I suggest that you prepare a big bed first. Yu Yang suddenly said, "You are really bad. It is daytime now. How can you talk about such shameful things?" The beautiful queen pretended to be shy as she covered her pretty face. "If you can't say it in the day, then should you say it at night?" Yu Yang asked curiously. "You can't say it at night either," the beautiful queen said to him coquettishly. "Then when can I say it?" Yu Yang didn't understand. "You can't say it at any time." The beautiful queen pouted coquettishly as she stamped her feet. This action caused the two mountain peak-like protrusions on her body to tremble. The movement was like a magnitude 10 earthquake, burning people's souls. Everyone present couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Now everyone understood that there were some things that couldn't be said. More accurately, those things didn't need to be said. They just needed to be done directly. Are you misunderstanding something? Yu Yang was the only one who didn't really understand, so he asked muddle-headedly. "It's not a misunderstanding. You're a bad guy, little bad guy." The beautiful queen raised her fist and waved it, causing another wave of tremors, making everyone's mouths dry up again. Yu Yang was silent for a moment, then suddenly explained very sincerely, "I asked you to prepare a big bed so that you can lie on it and dream, because that would be more practical. If you misunderstand that I have any improper thoughts about you, I'm sorry, but I think that I can't have any sexual interest in an old and ugly female dragon that's black everywhere. If a 10,000-man ride, like you, thinks that you can attract me by pretending to be a pure girl, then I'm very sorry to tell you that I'm going to disappoint you." When he said this, the entire audience went silent. The 5 nine-head clan members tried their best to hold back their laughter, trying their best not to laugh, trying their best to maintain this awkward atmosphere for as long as possible. The few people from the heavenly dragon race looked as if they had been slapped hard in the face, especially the beautiful queen, who was floating in the air with raging flames all over her body. The color of her face was like a dye shop, alternating between red and green, alternating between blue and green. The way she looked at Yu Yang now was a million times more hateful than when she killed her father. It could be said, Yu Yang had offended her greatly this time. No matter what the situation was going to be, between her and Yu Yang, there would definitely be no end. There would definitely not be a second possibility. "Good boy, if I don't break you into 100,000 pieces today and eat you piece by piece with sauce, I won't be called 10,000 bones crispy." The beautiful queen, whose entire body was covered in raging flames, was so angry that even her nose was crooked. "I have nothing to say to a charcoal ear like you." Yu Yang completely ignored the other party and turned to the other side of the sky. "There's only one God's ruins. Are you all idiots? There are actually so many people who were tricked by that traitor from the east to come here. Not a single one of you used your rusty brains to think that not only will you not get a share of the treasures in the God's ruins, you will also lose your life." At this time, another 3 people floated down from the sky. The one in the middle was a black bear demon, and the one on the right was a wild boar demon. Unfortunately, it was not the second senior brother, because he did not carry a 9-tooth rake on his shoulder. Otherwise, Yu Yang's mood would be much better. The reason? It was very simple. The second senior brother's meat was expensive. The young man on the left, with an extremely arrogant attitude, and almost had the words, "Everyone hurry up and provoke me. I really want to fight," written on his forehead. What kind of monster was he? Yu Yang's heaven eyes divine vision could not see through him. This guy looked like a tiger, but not a tiger, like a lion, but not a lion, like a wolf, but not a wolf, like a leopard, but not a leopard. He did not know what kind of strange race he was from. Of course, a guy who could rush to Tong Tian Tower despite knowing that there were many experts in the area and wanted to get his hands on the treasures in the god's ruins was definitely not a good person. The arrogant man with a lion's forehead, wolf's eyes, fish's lips, tiger's teeth, rhinoceros horns, and dragon's claws stared at Yu Yang. Everyone present thought that he would attack without saying a word. Who would have thought that the moment this guy opened his mouth, everyone present almost fell to the ground? Just now, I wanted to beat you up until you look for your teeth all over the floor because you made me feel very unhappy. What I hate the most in my life are people who are more handsome than me. However, you viciously spat out 10,000 bones crisper. That rotten whore is very much to my liking. What I admire is ruthless people like you. Now, I am a little hesitant. Say, should I beat you up until you become an idiot? Or should I make friend with you first and drink 300 cups of wine? Fuck. Can't you see the situation here, you idiot? Everyone is staring at me like a tiger watching its prey. Drink your sister. Yu Yang flashed and appeared in front of this arrogant man. He punched the other party's face. Let's make it simpler. Let this young master beat you into an idiot. Everyone present was speechless. If there was a ranking list of people who offended people in this world, then this Titan, you would be the most hated and offended person in Tong Tian Tower. No. In the entire Heaven Realm, including Heaven Realm. This brat seemed to have been destined to offend everyone in this world the moment he was born. Or perhaps, Titan Yu, this brat, was born to offend people in this world. There were so many enemies surrounding him. Some appeared, some didn't. Any one of them was strong enough to make Heaven Realm tremble. Now that they were all here, his life could be in danger at any time. But this Titan Yu, not only was he not afraid, he even tried to offend everyone he could have befriended, as if he wouldn't feel at ease if he didn't do that. Could it be that this brat knew that he was going to die? So he threw caution to the wind and disregarded everything? But his expression didn't look like it. From the looks of it, this brat Titan Yu's expression didn't seem to care at all. He didn't seem to be afraid at all. Fuck, could it be that this brat was born as stupid as a water vat? No matter how stupid or how idiotic he was, it was impossible for him to not have any reaction. 5 people from the 9-Head clan, 7 people from the Heavenly Dragon clan, and the 3 newly arrived Goblin clan. Any one of these 15 could make the Heaven Realm tremble with just a stomp of their feet. How could this brat have such an expression? Could it be? Everyone looked at each other. Everyone was suspecting that this Titan Yu had never left Tong Tian Tower before. He had never been to Heaven Realm, so he didn't know everyone's strength and reputation. Fearless because of ignorance? Could it be that this brat was really a country bumpkin who was trapped in Tong Tian Tower and didn't know anything about the outside world? Follow me to the blood altar. There is an entrance to the god's ruins there. If you can win against me, then I will hand it over to you. If you lose, then the bet is still valid. All of you scram. I am a master of my territory. I don't welcome you Heaven Realm bandits. Yu Yang waved his hand and used his sword chi to split open the space, indicating everyone to head towards the blood altar in White River Valley. Chapter 1256. Blood Altar. There was someone sitting quietly under an unknown broken statue of a deity. Another person stood with his hands behind his back, standing at the front of the blood altar, welcoming Yu Yang and the others with a smile. What Yu Yang wanted the most in his heart was to punch this middle-aged scholar who had a face full of smiles and elegance. He wanted to flatten his nose and break all of his teeth, then make this fellow swallow them all together with his fresh blood into his stomach. Of course, this could only be thought about. If he really wanted to fight, it would not be easy for Yu Yang's fist to hit this super ranker who was known as the Central Shrine's #1 think tank. Welcome, welcome. Seeing Yu Yang coming, the middle-aged scholar was in a good mood. He courteously welcomed him. If everyone does not mind this palace master's crude appearance, then I am willing to be a witness for everyone. No matter if it is Tong Tian Towers Yu clan's third young master Titan Yu, or Heaven Realm's nine-head clan, Black Terror clan, and Heavenly Dragon clan, I can promise that I will not be biased, fair and open as a neutral witness. I swear by the will of the ancient gods that I will definitely not interfere with any side. Thank you, Dongfang. You are the most impartial and wise person. Everyone knows that. We believe in you. Heavenly Dragon clan's double-headed Dragon Guang replied with a smile. We also have no objections. Black Bear Demon and Wild Boar Demon looked at each other. With their intelligence as a demon king and an overlord in Heaven Realm, they were not as unbearable as they looked. They, who were extremely intelligent and experienced, all believed that the Eastern First Palace Master had come here mainly because he was worried about everyone's share of the god's ruins, and was also afraid that everyone would cooperate with Titan Yu. Thus, he had come to supervise the final battle in the name of a witness. It was also possible that he had some secret agreement with the Heavenly Dragon clan. Otherwise, the Heavenly Dragon clan would not have the guts to challenge the Nine-Head clan. However, Dongfang First Palace Master coming was not a bad thing, at least for the battle situation. It was a good thing. With him here, Titan Yu would not be able to do anything even if he wanted to. Regardless of whether the Dongfang First Palace Master participated in the battle, this kid was destined to fail because the Dongfang First Palace Master would never give this kid a chance to turn the tables. The arrogant man who was with the Black Bear Demon and the Wild Boar Demon snorted but did not object. He was mainly still angry at Yu Yang's sneak attack and refusal. In this life, he had always scolded people more than he admired people. He really hadn't tried to take the initiative to chat and make friends with others many times. He didn't expect that this time, that Titan Yu not only wasn't wild with joy, but instead shamelessly refused him. This really caused him to have a stomach full of depression and nowhere to vent. The five from the Nine-Head clan looked at each other and laughed, but no one knew what they meant. When the middle-aged scholar looked over, the Nine-Headed Serpent spoke on behalf of their race. If Hall Master Dongfang is willing to be the witness, then it couldn't be better. I wonder what Titan Yu's opinion is. I am betting with you guys now. It has nothing to do with him. Yu Yang completely ignored the middle-aged scholar who was smiling. As long as you guys went against me, forget about the god's ruins, even the whole Tong Tian Tower, including the soaring dragon continent, the demon abyss, and the heaven stairway. I will give it to you. As for the agreement between you guys, it has nothing to do with me. Good. The handsome Guang clapped his hands and praised. Straightforward enough. Let's do it this way. However, there's only one Tong Tian Tower, and there are many guests who want to take it over. I wonder who is willing to go up and bet with you clan's third young master first? When he said this, the whole place became silent. It might not be a good thing to go up first. The first to go up usually meant the first to be eliminated. A good show was usually carried out at the end. The first to go up was very likely to be a small character. After going through so much hardship to come to Tong Tian Tower, they had paid a huge price. No one was willing to be a stepping stone for someone else to step on to succeed. Everyone wanted to be the one laughing at the end. The person who was quietly sitting under the broken statue suddenly stood up and volunteered. Since everyone is being modest, let me go first. Once he said this, it was like a golden stone being thrown onto the ground, clanging loudly. Everyone was shocked. Tong Tian Tower's 6th floor, Jadeite Forest. As one of the 18 divine generals under the command of the Eastern Palace Master, Divine General Tian Liang was setting fire crazily, burning this green forest to the ground. Dozens of miles away from him, Oxheadly Ao, Fan Luan Tai, the 4 orc girls, and Lin In and his wife were all lying on the ground, struggling in pain. However, they were powerless to stand up and stop this powerful enemy from destroying the Jadeite Forest. Because of Yu Yang, Fan Luan Tai and the others had great improvements in their strength. They were many times stronger than before and could squeeze into the top 100 rankers in Tong Tian Tower. However, compared to this divine General Tian Liang from the Central Shrine, they were still too weak. Not to mention them, Even Fatty Hai and Yi Kong had a hard time fighting against the previous divine General Sunday. If it wasn't for Duo's blessing and the help of the ancient forest and ancient thistles, it would be impossible for Fatty Hai and the others to defeat the divine General Sun so easily. Now, the pyromaniac divine General Tianliang was burning the jadeite forest wantonly. Other than Li Ao, Fan Luantai, and the others who were Yu Yang's teammates, the rest of the Tong Tian Tower warriors who came to stop him were all killed. The reason why they were spared was because of the Eastern Palace Master's instructions. Just like how the divine General Sun killed Fatty Hai, Yi Kong, and the old fox, the Eastern Palace Master wanted to attack Yu Yang's willpower all the time. To him, these people were all pawns that could be used. If they were killed, it would only make Yu Yang even angrier, causing him to explode with even more power. However, if he controlled them and continued to abuse them, Yu Yang would never be able to calm down and fight. Even though the chess game was already won, the Eastern Palace Master was still cautious. However, Palace Master Dongfang was still very cautious. Furthermore, he hoped to make use of his various advantages and arrangements to perfectly control his opponent. It's about time. Divine General Tianliang felt that the mission this time was really simple. He just had to capture a few natives of Tong Tian Tower who were as weak as insects and set this forest on fire. After setting the fire, he would capture these people and bring them to the Sky Garden in the 4th floor of Tong Tian Tower, where Titan used Little Lover, Fallen Flowers, and hand them over to the eldest of the 18 Divine Generals, Divine General Ziwei. Was there a mission easier than this in this world? Divine General Tianliang felt that his mission this time was simply overkill. Tian Tong, Tian Fu, Tian Cheng, and the others could at least be sent to the more important places like Thunder Fortress, Fire Island, and Charm Demon Palace. What kind of rubbish mission was this? Let's set this forest on fire. Actually, the best mission would be to go to Titan Yu's hometown, Soaring Dragon Continent, and set it on fire, just like Wu Chu, Wen Chu, Earth Calamity, and Giant Sect. Unfortunately, his luck wasn't good this time. The mission he drew was to go to Jadeite Forest. Even if it was a small contribution, he wouldn't be able to get it. Let's find a true ranker from Tong Tian Tower. Such an easy mission is really too boring. Divine General Tianliang really hoped that he could meet an opponent, otherwise he wouldn't be able to raise his spirits. Of course, he also knew that it was impossible. In a rural place like Tong Tian Tower, other than country bumpkins and bumpkins, there were no other specialties. Other than Titan Yu, were there any other rankers in Tong Tian Tower? Divine General Tianliang didn't think that Tong Tian Tower could produce another abnormal genius like Titan Yu. As you wish. A shadow silently appeared behind Divine General Tianliang. Divine General Tianliang was stunned. Originally, I wanted to kill you in one move since I'm in a hurry. However, seeing that you urgently need an opponent to torture, I'll reluctantly satisfy you this once. While these words were still echoing in Divine General Tianliang's ears, a whip of agony infused with divine power heavily whipped Divine General Tianliang's back. This whip of agony was not only a mental attack, it also carried a divine flame that could even burn one's soul. His flesh sizzled as it burned. His bone marrow was so hot that it almost burst out his bones. As Divine General Tianliang breathed, he discovered that his mouth and nose were also inhaling and exhaling this terrifying purple divine flame. A strong enemy had arrived, and it was a super strong enemy. With his rich battle experience, he immediately made the correct response. He didn't flee, but used the greatest strength he had in his life to launch a fatal attack at the enemy behind him. He who possessed a strong body and tenacious life force believed that he would be the final victor, no matter how strong the enemy was. It was impossible for them to defeat him because he had 100 times stronger body and life force than his opponent. Among the 18 divine generals, although he wasn't the strongest in terms of battle power, his body was definitely the strongest. His life force was also definitely the most tenacious. Come at me. Divine General Tian Liang endured the pain of the divine flame burning his soul. He clenched his teeth and gathered his greatest strength. Then, he fiercely attacked the strong enemy behind him. The natives of Tong Tian Tower had a special characteristic. No matter how strong they were, their bodies and life force wouldn't be very strong. Only the Eastern Goblin Tribe's warriors were a slight exception. Before his powerful attack was unleashed, Divine General Tian Liang heard a scream beside his ear. This scream wasn't a normal scream. It was a scream that could even cause one's soul to tremble and shatter. Divine General Tian Liang felt as if his head was hit by a 10,000-ton hammer. His entire body, including his soul, felt as if it was about to explode. His willpower was in a state of collapse. His rationality was blank as he sunk deep into chaos. For a long time, he couldn't think. When he woke up, he realized that he was lying on the ground. Above his head, there was a bloody queen whose wings were burning with purple-gold divine flames. She was floating in the air and looking down at him. Not far away from him, the Oxhead girl and the others who had fallen earlier had already stood up. The wounds on their bodies were almost completely healed. The aura and battle power that they were emitting were 10 times stronger than before. What exactly happened? How long had he been unconscious for? Divine General Tian Liang was prepared to struggle and use his strong body and life force to challenge this super strong enemy in front of him. Do you want to kill me who is known for my strong body? It won't be that easy. The bloody queen who was looking down at him from the sky didn't have any reaction. Her eyes. Was she looking down on him? Was she looking down on him? Just as humiliation floated in his heart, Divine General Tian Liang suddenly realized an extremely inconceivable phenomenon. He actually couldn't stand up? No. Divine General Tian Liang realized that he had mysteriously turned into a sheep. A weak and pitiful sheep. The body and life force that he was so proud of no longer existed. He was now just a sheep so weak that others could break his spine and smash his head with a single punch. Why did it become like this? He was a divine general. Unless it was the divine power of a true god, who else in this world could turn him into a sheep? No, this was impossible. There's still 10 minutes left until I turn into a sheep. I'll leave him to you guys to deal with. Hongzi drew an incomparably mysterious heaven rune formation in the sky and used her divine power to forcefully infuse the imprisonment heaven rune formation into Divine General Tian Liang's body. Divine General Tian Liang sadly realized that not only had he turned into a sheep, he couldn't even run away. He was completely imprisoned. Forget about moving. He couldn't even blink his eyes. At this moment, he suddenly felt that something was wrong and wanted to beg his opponent to spare his life. Unfortunately, he realized that this thought came too late. Even if he wanted to beg now, he couldn't even open his mouth to speak. You guys fight first. I'll give him a guillotine at the end. Divine General, how majestic. I want to chop off his head and hang it on the wall as an ornament. Oxhead fan Luan Tai first bowed to Hong to express her gratitude. Then, she waved her hand to signal the orc girls to attack. She decided that she would be the last to go up. The head of such a majestic and awe-inspiring Heaven Realm Divine General was definitely the best loot for the Oxhead clan. Let's also cut some meat to go with the wine. The 4 orc girls felt that if they didn't eat some meat, they would be letting down this Heaven Realm Divine General who came all the way here. Divine General Tian Liang was so scared that he wanted to cry. However, under the imprisonment, he couldn't even shed tears of despair. Thunder Fortress. Different from Divine General Tian Liang, Sky Mansion Divine General was having fun. It was said that this was one of Titan Yu's strongholds. He could have razed this place to the ground in 10 minutes, but he wasn't anxious at all. He suggested to the natives of Tong Tian Tower that anyone could come up to challenge him. However, if they lost, they would have to tear down one of Titan Yu's houses. He hoped to tear down Titan Yu's reputation and stronghold bit by bit amidst the despair of his opponents, amidst the pain and sorrow of these natives. Who wants to challenge me next? If no one wants to challenge me, I'll burn down Titan Yu's garden. Isn't there a warrior who will step forward? Could it be that everyone in Tong Tian Tower is a coward? Ha ha ha! is the specialty of Tong Tian Tower cowards? Come up, someone come and challenge me. Sky Mansion Divine General casually shot out energy balls and threw them in all directions. The buildings in the Thunder Fortress were destroyed one after another. Let me have a try. An especially tender and beautiful voice rang out behind the Divine General of Heaven's Sanctum. You? Sky Mansion Divine General turned around and realized that it was a weak human girl. No, to be more accurate, it was a beast that looked like a human girl, a guardian beast. He couldn't see her original form at all. He didn't know how she grew. Sky Mansion Divine General asked in confusion, "What's your real body? A giant dragon?" "Not a giant dragon." This person who looked no different from human girl revealed a sweet smile. "I actually like to eat giant dragons." Chapter 1257. Fourth floor of Tong Tian Tower, Sky Garden. Ever since Luo Hua Beauty had ascended to the heaven realm, she had rarely stayed in the Sky Garden. Accurately speaking, ever since she met Yu Yang, she had rarely stayed in the Sky Garden. Needless to say, after she was pushed down and became his concubine, she had always been living in his grimoire world. However, this was still a beautiful garden that she had lived in for many years. Even if Luo Hua Beauty had already moved the most precious and beautiful flowers, such as the beautiful demonic flower and the starlight serene indigo grass, into the grimoire world, there were still countless strange flowers and plants here. At the same time, this place was a special memorial for her first time with that little scoundrel. It was the world that was closest to a wedding between the two of them. Luo Hua Beauty undoubtedly valued this place the most. Originally, Fallen Beauty, Qian Xian, and the others were preparing to go to the 10th floor of Tong Tian Tower and head to the Guangming continent to intercept the Heaven Realm army there. However, halfway there, a little fellow that she had secretly sent to follow Yu Yang quietly. He caught up. He reported to her a piece of news that made her extremely angry. In order to attack Yu Yang's will, the subordinate of Palace Master Dongfang, the traitor of Tong Tian Tower, had shamelessly destroyed the beautiful little world that only she and him shared. The warm little home that witnessed their first time, Sky Garden. Of course, Palace Master Dongfang's subordinate did not only destroy Sky Garden. No matter if it was Whitestone City's fourth mother's home, or the Yu clan castle that Yu Yang had dragged fourth mother and Shuang heir to kill their way to regain their dignity, or even the Ivy Academy that the Xia Empire studied in Shangjing City. None of them could escape. Almost all the places that Yu Yang had set foot on, as long as they were related to him in the slightest, were all within the attack range of the Eastern Palace Master subordinates. The Sky Garden, the Thunder Fortress, the Jadeite Forest, the Fire Island, and the Meteor Shower Islands were all included without exception. The team that went straight to the 10th floor of Tong Tian Tower had to split up because of this news. Fallen Beauty. Of course, she returned to the 4th floor of Tong Tian Tower angrily. Even though it was already too late to stop the collapse and destruction of the Hanging Garden, in her fury, she decided to kill the executioner with her 9-turn spiral aurora. Otherwise, the hatred in her heart would not be appeased. Before this, Fallen Beauty hadn't seen the Sky Garden. She was already angry enough. Now that she saw it, the Sky Garden had completely turned into ruins. The Sky Island was destroyed, the waterfall was gone, and all the exotic flowers and plants that were planted were gone. Even the small courtyard that he had enjoyed a sweet time with, that warm little home, had been burned. Fallen Beauty felt a kind of anger that she had never felt before rising from the bottom of her heart. She could no longer think and could no longer maintain sufficient rationality. Now, she only thought of revenge. Unless the proud destroyer of her home was killed in front of her, her anger would not be appeased in the slightest. Aurora. As Fallen Beauty condensed the death aurora in her hands, images of the past flashed through her mind. All of them were related to him. For example, the first time she saw him was in front of the 12 zodiac temples. He said that he wanted to challenge the Aries temple with the spitting thorny flower. She even paid the challenge fee for him. At that time, he was arrogant and mischievous. She could never forget him after seeing him. The second time she saw him was before the demon invasion. At that time, he was taking revenge for Yu Bing, who was being bullied by her companions. He beat up a few students from Shangjing Academy. In the end, the mastermind was drawn out. The traitor that colluded with the demon abyss summoned the Bloodgate. Countless demon abyss creatures rushed out. She issued an expedition order and led him, Shuetan Lang and the others, to attack the demon abyss. In the end, he, who hid his strength, killed a few demon generals. After that, they went to the third floor of Tong Tian Tower together to steal the beautiful demonic flower from the Bloody Queen's pavilion in the sky. During the bloody battle with Ma Li Ong and the other demons, she fainted and he carried her back. From that day onwards, not only did he obtain the Bloody Queen Red, he also obtained her heart. At that time, she even jokingly said that she wanted him to be the personal guard captain of City Mistress Fallen Flowers. Just like that, they got to know each other day, getting closer little by little. When they were climbing the Cloud Peak Lake, she fused the ancient rune circle with him. Then, during the battle with the demonic palace's earth demons, she plucked the rare starlight, serene indigo grass. What left the deepest impression was in this sky garden. She, who was shy, brought him here. This beautiful sky garden. It became a wedding home. First time. She would never forget her first time with him. That sweet, yet slightly painful, blissful process happened right here. This was a warm little home that she shared with him alone. No matter how long she lived in the grimoire world, no matter how many times she had sex with him, this place would always be the most memorable place. However, it was precisely this kind of place, a place that did not belong to the battlefield and did not have any fighting power, that was actually despicably attacked and destroyed by the enemy. Now, how could she, the city mistress of Fallen Flowers, not be angry? Little rascal, did you know that our home has been destroyed? Maybe you already know, but you can't be more sorrowful because the blow to your heart is 10 times, 100 times more painful than mine. I know that you are very angry because I'm also very angry. Right now, you can't be distracted and can't attack the enemy's arrogance. I don't blame you. Now it's time for me, your little wife, to stand up and share your pain and pressure. Fallen Beauty mumbled to herself at first, but when she finished speaking, the sorrowful expression on her face had been completely replaced by a kind of unswerving radiance. Fallen Beauty's hands condensed an aurora, and her eyes also condensed a firm and unshakable supreme will. I, the city mistress of Fallen Flowers, who is known as the city mistress of Tong Tian Tower, will use the name of love to kill all the demons who are trying to stop us from living a happy life. No matter where they come from or what kind of power they have, there's only one result, and that is to be exterminated. What did I see? A pitiful person whose home was destroyed and has no home to go back to. The Earth Calamity Divine General who had already destroyed the Sky Garden, but did not leave. Instead, he deliberately waited here, preparing to catch all the reinforcements in one fell swoop. He floated out of the invisible void and laughed loudly. Hey, be careful. This girl doesn't seem to be easy to deal with. She is very angry. Another divine general who destroyed the Whitestone City couldn't help but warn his comrade. She is very angry? Ha ha. I want her to be angry. If she wasn't angry, I wouldn't feel so good. The Earth Calamity Divine General didn't care at all. You are right. With us 5 divine generals here, no matter how powerful she is destined to be defeated. There is nothing to worry about. Earth Calamity, I'm really envious of your good luck. I destroyed the Yu clan's castle, yet not a single person rushed back to rescue me. You, on the other hand, just casually smashed a garden, and Luo Hua city mistress rushed back to deliver the hostage. This is Titan Yu's woman. If we capture her, forget about raping her before killing her. Titan, you will also go crazy if we torture her a little. Lord Palace Mistress, First Palace Master's calculations are really accurate. We might not be able to get a hostage in other places, but here, Lord has asked everyone to gather here, and even asked Boss Ziwei to personally preside over this place. As expected, he was right. In the previous scene, Divine General Wu Chu, who destroyed the Yu clan castle, clapped his hands, and praised Master Dongfang's wisdom. He also envied his comrade Earth Calamity, Divine General's good luck, with jealousy. It's not just here. The Charmed Demon Palace on the 7th floor and the Fire Island might all be captured. There was a high possibility that Tian Fa would go to rescue the Succubus Palace, and that Ocean Empress would also go to rescue Fire Island. It's a pity that the half-elf female slave and the female mercenary with the surname Xia are too weak to go to the Thunder Fortress. Otherwise, that guy from the Sky Mansion would be able to take advantage of them. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor, Endless Fantasy Translation Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation. The Charmed Demon Palace is troublesome. That Sky Law is a famous ranker in Tong Tian Tower. Divine General Zhu Min frowned. Ha ha ha. A famous Divine General in Tong Tian Tower? How strong can a famous ranker be in a rural place like this? Innate? Heaven rank? Earth Calamity Divine General laughed maniacally. Tong Tian Tower won't give birth to a Divine General even after 100 years. According to the intelligence, that is indeed the case. But with the special existence of Yu Titan, Tong Tian Tower's martial artists have improved by leaps and bounds in recent years. This can be seen from his teammates, Haida Fu, Yi Kong, and the others. Originally, Haida Fu couldn't even be considered as an Earth rank. However, in just a few years, he surpassed the Earth rank and climbed to Heaven rank. This is unbelievable even for the Heaven realm. I feel that anything related to Titan, you should not be judged by common sense. Otherwise, we might be at a disadvantage. Divine General Zhu Min was more cautious and thought deeply. So what if Haida Fu climbed to Heaven rank? He can't even be killed by any of us with a finger. Even if there are more rankers like Haida Fu in Tong Tian Tower, so what? A bunch of ants. If it wasn't for the first palace master telling us to preserve our strength, I could sweep the entire 4th floor by myself. Or I could sweep the entire Tong Tian Tower by myself. Earth Tribulation Divine General felt that he was an invincible existence in Tong Tian Tower. There was nothing that could threaten him. That idiotic fatty Haida Fu is indeed nothing to worry about. However, there are still rankers in Tong Tian Tower. For example, that Titan Yu. Divine General Wu Chu smiled. Titan Yu, there's only one in Tong Tian Tower. Earth Tribulation Divine General shrugged his shoulders. Titan Yu was his master's opponent. Other than that Titan Yu, there's also the one from Tianluo Palace. No, there's another one. It's said that she's the human Jizun. She's also very powerful. She was able to join hands with Titan Yu to kill the 9 Light Race's Heaven Empress. Even the first palace master pays special attention to her. However, for some reason, this human Jizun has not appeared recently. She has disappeared without a trace. Maybe she went to the Heaven realm to travel and couldn't make it back in time to protect Tong Tian Tower. If she can make it back in time, it will be an unstable factor. Divine General, when Chu mentioned Jizun, they had done their best in gathering information. Unfortunately, they would never know that after defeating the 9 Lights Empress, Jizun and Night Empress had rushed to the Heaven Stairways 1,500,000 steps respectively. Their strength wasn't stagnant, and they weren't comparable to the Heaven Empress in the past. Most importantly, Jizun's blood and Yu Yang's blood had blended in battle, and their souls were connected. At that time, the two of them didn't feel anything during the fierce battle. However, in the days of cultivation that followed, the two of them's improvement and spiritual comprehension quietly influenced each other. When Yu Yang entered the trial grounds to challenge, every time he improved, other than affecting Princess Sisai and Fallen Beauty, he also affected Jizun, who was rushing to the Heaven Stairways 1,000,000 steps. Similarly, when Jizun was rushing to the Heaven Stairways 1,000,000 steps, every improvement and comprehension she gained would be reciprocated to Yu Yang. It was because of the resonance and benefit between them that Yu Yang was able to quickly finish all the trials in the trial grounds. Jizun also inconceivably climbed to the Heaven Stairways 1,000,000 step goal that she originally thought would take at least 10 years to reach. Jizun not only received the influence of Yu Yang's improvement, she also passed the test of the ancient ancestors on the heaven stairway's 1,000,000 steps. She inherited the ancient divine power and returned to Tong Tian Tower. Just how powerful would she be? This was beyond everyone's imagination. Otherwise, why would Yu Yang invite enemies like the Nine Heads, the Sky Dragon, and the Black Terror Clan to fight at the Blood Altar? Are you guys done talking? Fallen Beauty didn't feel like a weak person at all. She didn't tremble in fear just because there were 4 or even 5 divine generals in front of her. In the trial grounds, she, who accompanied Yu Yang's many improvements, often practiced the husband and wife body fusion with her lover. She, who was cleansed and enlightened by her lover's improvements, and even received some kind of mysterious inspiration in her dreams, was no longer the city master of fallen flowers who needed help to counterattack the demon abyss. She was still the city master of fallen flowers, but she was no longer the weak her from back then. She was still laughing and loving, but her strength and realm had already stepped into the infinite void and was looking at the godly state. It was no longer possible for her supreme will to waver because of a few so-called divine generals. The Heaven Rune Circle, the Ancient Rune Core, and the divine runes created by Yu Yang's will appear from her body bit by bit. They merged perfectly with the moon battle armor that her lover had specially made and personally gifted to her, forming a magnificent moon god's battle armor that was comparable to a high-grade divine artifact in both power and quality. An extremely light floral fragrance was emitted from her body. It spread in all directions according to her will. Between her hands, the Death Aurora had already condensed to its limit. Each of the 9 spiraling auroras was a dragon-headed spiral aurora that spun 10,000 times per second. Meanwhile, the 8 spiral auroras revolved around the Death Aurora in the middle. Under her will, there could only be one result for any life that came into contact with it. Annihilation. Are you done with your last words? Then die. Fallen Beauty fused her anger into the aurora in her hands, letting it annihilate the enemy. Be careful, Earth Calamity. This light beam is filled with godly power. An existence that was hidden in space suddenly appeared when the aurora shot out. Once he appeared, he shone brightly like the brightest star in the sky. No matter how strong his companions were, they could not cover his unique brilliance. Once this man that made his companions pale in comparison appeared, he immediately shouted to warn the Earth Calamity godly general who had always looked down on Fallen Beauty. Can a light beam that needs to be condensed for so long and has such a slow speed hit a mosquito? The Earth Calamity godly general was still unconvinced. So what if it was powerful? Could it hurt his body as a godly general? Furthermore, with such a slow condensing and firing speed, how could it hit a godly general like him? Stop joking. It is indeed too slow. Godly General Wu Chu agreed. He had rarely seen such a slow attack. This attack was even slower than a snail's crawl. In the next second, accurately speaking, it was 1/10,000th of a second later. The 9 revolving spiral aurora, which had been improved by Yu Yang and Fallen Beauty more than 10 times and was finally named Death Aurora, was finally released. Then there was a result. That was death. In 1/10,000th of a second, the Earth Calamity godly general who was feeling proud just now was bathed in the Death Aurora. He did not even struggle or scream before he was directly annihilated in the light beam. Even his soul was annihilated. The summoning grimoire that belonged to him flew out with a bang and landed on the ruins of the Sky Garden and the collapsed Sky Island. After a second, the Death Aurora disappeared into the horizon. It was as if the Earth Calamity godly general had never existed. He disappeared. A blank space was left between heaven and earth. The remaining 4 companions were all shocked and dumbstruck. Chapter 1258. As if waking up from a dream, the 4 god generals reacted. Apart from God General Ziwei, who was glowing so brightly that his companions paled in comparison, The other three god generals all charged toward fallen beauty. They couldn't let this girl condense another aurora beam. They definitely couldn't let such a powerful aurora beam appear a second time. God General Wen Chu was on the left, God General Wu Chu was on the right, and God General Zhu Min was in the middle. Like a trinity, they charged over at high speed. They now knew the weakness of this city lord of fallen flowers. Her aurora beam attack was extremely powerful, and it was as fast as lightning. Unfortunately, it took too long to condense. If it wasn't for the fact that the Earth Calamity God General had underestimated Luo Hua City Mistress and had the intention to tease her, he would have been able to kill her during the long process of condensing the aurora light. Now that the Earth Calamity God General who had underestimated Luo Hua City Mistress had been instantly killed, the remaining four naturally wouldn't allow Luo Hua City Mistress to condense the aurora light again. Kill. While God General Wu Chu was charging, he took out a purple gold holy blade and raised it above his head. He was prepared to kill the beauty in front of him in one move. He didn't have any tender feelings for the fair sex. He only wanted to destroy this flower. Mirror Shield. Compared to the murderous God General Wu Chu, God General Wen Chu was more cautious. He took out a holy grade silver mirror shield. Not only was the silver mirror shield extremely powerful, but it was also best at refracting or reflecting light energy attacks. Although God General Wen Chu wasn't 100% confident that he could take on the strongest aurora beam that he had condensed for a long time, but he believed it. It was more than enough to defend or refract the aurora beam that the City Lord of Fallen Flowers casually released. He wouldn't believe that this City Lord of Fallen Flowers, who had hidden her strength, was not talented enough to casually release more than 100 aurora beams. The reason why she didn't do that earlier was definitely because the longer the aurora beam condensed, the more powerful it would be. That was why she condensed it for such a long time to release the strongest aurora beam. Of course, there was the possibility that she had confused everyone. However, no matter how confused she couldn't casually release an aurora beam that could instantly kill a god general. Therefore, the defense of the Holy Class Mirror Shield was more than enough. Wu Chu Divine General and Wen Chu Divine General chose different methods, one attacking and the other defending, which was similar to their character and way of doing things. The giant Door Divine General in the middle was no exception. Among the 18 immortal generals, the most cautious and meticulous one was not the female immortal General Tian Xiang, but the boorish-looking immortal General Zhu Min. Zhu Min did not raise his weapon to attack or defend. Instead, he focused all his attention on fallen beauty in front of him, ready to react immediately before she made the slightest movement. Compared to divine weapons and other treasures, he believed in his own body, his own reaction, and his own wisdom more. There would come a day when divine weapons would lose their effectiveness. There would come a day when divine beasts and sacred beasts would betray their masters. There would also come a day when comrades and companions would betray each other for their own benefits. Someone who could be completely trusted, only his own hands. Behind the fallen Flower City Lord, just as Wu Chu Divine General soared into the sky, and when Chu Divine General and Zhu Min Divine General approached cautiously, a fragrant white mist suddenly appeared. Within the white mist, there seemed to be a creature's tail gently dancing. It was extremely beautiful, but it was hard to see clearly. Even the most powerful divine General Zi Wei, who had been watching from afar, could not see through the faint white mist. A strange fragrance assailed the nostrils and refreshed the heart. When divine General Wu Chu's purple gold holy blade slashed down, he saw a strange and terrifying scene. In front of him were two fallen flower city lords. The two Luo Hua city mistresses were like twin sisters. They looked exactly the same. No matter if it was their appearance, demeanor, or fighting style, there was no difference at all. The two of them, one in front and one behind, stood quietly as if they were twins since birth. This was not the strangest thing. What shocked divine General Wu Chu the most was that the two fallen Flower City lords were both condensing aurora lights. Moreover, they were condensing one in each of their hands. This meant that the four jade hands had already condensed an energy ball that was comparable to the death aurora from before. It could shoot out at any time. There was definitely only one fallen flower city lord. Which one was real? Which one was fake? Those who made the wrong judgment would probably suffer a great loss under her aurora. Huh! The two fallen beauties shouted at the same time. The aurora lights condensed in their four hands pointed at Wu Chu Divine General in the sky. Wen Chu Divine General on the right, Zhu Min Divine General in the middle, and Divine General Ziwei Divine General in the distance. Divine General Wu Chu, who was holding the purple gold holy blade and had no choice but to release it, felt gloomy in his heart. This was because he was too close to the two fallen flower city lords. They were so close that even a divine general like him couldn't react in time. In fact, the purple gold holy blade in his hand had already reached the heads of the two fallen flower city lords. In a thousandth of a second, they would be cut in half, and their heads would fall to the ground. At this instant, in less than a thousandth of a second, four death aurora light beams shot out at the same time. Fight! Divine General Wu Chu, who couldn't dodge at all, slashed down with the purple gold holy blade in his hand. At the same time, he forcibly used up all the energy in his body, tried to raise his strength to the peak for the upcoming fight. Unfortunately, he didn't have this chance. An aurora shot out from the left hand of the fallen beauty. It was unimaginably fast. It flashed past the purple gold holy blade's blade and slammed into Divine General Wu Chu's face, sending him flying. Although he wasn't instantly killed like the Earth Tribulation Divine General, even a blind person could tell that Divine General Wu Chu wasn't having a good time. It wasn't just Divine General Wu Chu. Even Divine General Wen Chu was sent flying in one move. The fallen beauty, who was standing in front, unleashed an aurora light beam from her right hand. It accurately hit Divine General Wen Chu, who was hiding behind the holy light shield and defending with all his might like a turtle. This terrifying pillar of light inconceivably shattered the sacred silver mirror shield that could reflect almost all energy beams. It sent Divine General Wen Chu, who was hiding behind it, flying into the air. Divine General Wen Chu howled in pain. His body drew a long parabola in the air and fell 10,000 meters away. Of course, he was in a much better situation than Divine General Wu Chu, who was directly hit in the face. Divine General Wu Chu was sent flying into the sky. He turned into a star. Screams of pain could be heard. No one knew when he would fall again. Divine General Ziwei, who was watching from afar, saw City Lord Fallen Flowers' aurora shooting toward him. Even though he was far stronger than his companions, he didn't dare to underestimate her. He didn't attack or defend. Instead, he lightly shifted his feet. His upper body was half raised. He cleverly dodged the aurora's direct attack. The aurora brushed past the tip of his nose. He wasn't hurt at all. However, a few strands of hair that floated back from the back of his head melted into nothingness in the aurora. This caused the expression of the strongest divine, General Ziwei, to change for a second. The aurora light that was casually shot out actually had such power. This had really exceeded his imagination. If it wasn't for the fact that he had the strongest power in that trump card, he really wouldn't dare to provoke the twin sisters, Luo Hua City Mistress, who possessed terrifying power and mind. The information he had gathered in the past was completely wrong. City Lord Fallen Flowers was actually a twin sister. No wonder she could easily defeat opponents of the same level and strength. The reason was because she had two people. Moreover, they were twin sisters with unparalleled teamwork and mind. Whoosh! The person who was truly unharmed was the most cautious divine, General Zhu. When Fallen Beauty aimed her aurora beam at him, he didn't attack like Divine General Wu Chu, defend like Divine General Wen Chu, or dodge like the strongest divine, General Ziwei. Instead, he tore open a space-time door in front of him in the void. He slid into the space-time door. Relying on the natural law of space-time closing, he dodged the aurora beam unscathed and teleported behind Divine General Ziwei. Regardless of whether City Lord Fallen Flowers was the same person or a twin sister, Divine General Ju Min wasn't willing to fight them. This was an undefeatable enemy because she had the strongest defensive talent, Aurora, under this aurora of death that could annihilate everything. Even if someone had the ability to completely defeat them or even kill them, it would be very difficult to escape from their dying counterattack. Divine General Ju Min felt that his mission was completed. The Earth Tribulation Divine, general responsible for destroying the Sky Garden, had already died in battle. There was no need for him to risk his life against these two fallen Flower City lords. Even if he did, it wouldn't be his turn. Didn't they still have Divine General Ziwei, their boss? He was the boss and the strongest. He should stand up and make the decision. It wasn't his place to meddle in other people's business. As for the mission that the Lord Palace Master had previously mentioned to capture hostages to threaten Titan Yu, Divine General Ju Min didn't think it was a good idea. This was because even Ziwei, their strongest boss, probably didn't have the ability to easily capture the other party as a hostage, let alone himself. Therefore, protecting himself was the only thing he had to do now. Divine General Ju Min, who had lost all his will to fight, looked at Divine General Wen Chu, who was still mercilessly sent flying with his shield. He realized that his comrade wasn't much better off than charcoal. His entire body was pitch black, and his skin smelled like roasted meat. As for Wu Chu, who had turned into a star in the sky, he hadn't fallen yet. He didn't know how he was doing. However, Divine General Ju Min guessed that his situation wouldn't be any better than Wen Chu's. The two Fallen Flowers City lords didn't attack again. They were waiting. They raised their heads. It was as if they were waiting for Divine General Wu Chu, who had been sent flying into the sky, to fall. What were they doing? Were they waiting for Wu Chu to fall and fire 4 cannons at him? Divine General Ju Min secretly wiped his sweat. He felt that if they really did that, Wu Chu would become a fragrant roasted pig. The smell would be 100 times better than Wen Chu's. After at least half a minute, Wu Chu, who had been sent flying, finally fell to the ground with the purple gold holy blade. He, who had lost consciousness, fell like a meteorite. Infinite acceleration. Then, he crashed into the ground because they were worried that the two Fallen Flower City Lord would take the opportunity to fire Aurora's shot. Divine General Ziwei, Divine General Ju Min, and even Divine General Wen Chu, who had just recovered from his roasted state, didn't help. They just let Divine General Wu Chu smash into the ground head first. Anyway, Wu Chu was a divine general. No matter how they smashed him, they wouldn't be able to kill him. Therefore, I didn't need to save him. Who knows? Maybe Wu Chu's rock-like head could be smashed. The dizzy Divine General Wu Chu crawled out of the ground shakily. It was already a minute later, even though he didn't die. However, Divine General Wen Chu, Divine General Ju Min, and even Divine General Ziwei, who was the strongest and still had a card up her sleeve, were all scared silly. What's wrong with you guys? You saw me fall, and you didn't even help me. Divine General Wu Chu roared at his companions in anger. However, after he scolded them, he immediately felt something strange, because he found that his voice had changed. The originally steady and powerful male voice with the sound of metal and stone had inexplicably turned into a sweet female voice. This scolding tone, no matter how you listen to it, was very awkward, as if a woman was deliberately acting coquettishly. Divine General Wu Chu was stunned at first. Then he screamed, "What's going on? My breasts have become so big." Sweat appeared on Divine General Ziwei's forehead. God General Ju Min and God General Wen Chu were also sweating profusely. Looking at their companion's condition, they swallowed hard. They were not blind. They could clearly see that Wu Chu, their companion, had turned into a woman. No, to be precise, Wu Chu had turned into a transvestite. A transvestite with both the body of a woman and a man. The stubble on Wu Chu's face was still there, but his chest was bulging like a woman's. His body had also become more like a woman's. His pelvis and hips were wide open, and he looked like a young married woman. However, through the familiar sense of life between his companions, Wu Chu knew that his companion had become a monster that was neither male nor female. His lower body was probably still male, but he no longer had male functions. He no longer had the masculine strength of a man. He was just an empty form. But this transformation, not completely. In terms of body transformation, he might have completed a little more than half of the transformation into a woman. That was why he had become such a terrifying transvestite that was neither male nor female. After being hit by the aurora, he would lose his male functions and even become a transvestite. When the three god generals Zi Wei, Zhu Min, and Wen Chu looked at City Lord Fallen Flowers again, their eyes were filled with fear. In comparison, they would rather be hit by City Lord Fallen Flowers' aurora. That way, they would at most become roasted pigs. No matter how painful it was still better than becoming a transvestite that was neither male nor female, right? God General Wen Chu felt that he was a lucky guy. If he had been hit by the aurora and turned into Wu Chu, he might as well commit suicide. Enchantress talent, it can turn all men into women, and it can also turn women into more women. The purer one's body and thoughts are, the greater the transformation and the shorter the duration of the transformation. The fallen beauty who was standing at the front had a beautiful smile on her face as she pointed at God General Wu Chu, who had turned into a transvestite, and said, "Ha, for someone as filthy as you, this transformation will last for at least 1,000 years. Congratulations, you have enough time to enjoy the entire process." How could there be such a talent in this world? God General Wu Chu screamed hysterically. It was given to me by the ancient gods. It exists specifically to cleanse and judge scum like you who have committed countless crimes. Every day, you will have to bear the pain of the women you have humiliated in the past. You will have to experience their pain until the transformation ends. The fallen beauty who was standing at the back waved her hand and sprinkled a fragrant scent. I forgot to tell you, your pain will increase by 100 times in this pure fragrance. Chapter 1259. Fifth level of the Heaven Stairway, White River Valley, Scarlet Altar. When Yi Yang proposed a duel, the Black Terror Tribe, Heavenly Dragon Tribe, and Nine-Head Tribe did not immediately respond. Being the first to fight did not mean that one would be the first to eat the crab. On the contrary, the first person to fight was often the stepping stone for others. Although there was no such saying in Tong Tian Tower and Heaven Realm, everyone knew this principle. Just when everyone was pretending not to hear Yu Yang's words from a 45-degree angle, someone stood out. He had been sitting on the Scarlet Altar all along. He remained silent. Everyone, regardless of whether they knew him or not, did not expect that the person who was supposed to fight for the fruits of victory would be the first to fight. Why? Not only them, but even Yu Yang, who was mentally prepared, and the middle-aged scholar, who was in control of the situation, were puzzled. The person who should not fight was the first to stand up. He volunteered to fight with Yu Yang. Why? Everyone turned to look at him. This person had a dignified appearance and was quite formidable. No matter how one looked at him, he didn't look like a retard. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes. His square face, coupled with his hair that was like steel needles that did not move in the wind, gave people a strong visual impact. Especially his well-defined overall lines, which were as rough as if they were chiseled by a knife and axe. He was full of masculinity. If time was turned back and he looked at his younger days, he might be a handsome guy who could make a young girl's heart beat faster. This person's face carried a kind of maturity and perseverance that came from having experienced many hardships. His resolute gaze, his hands that were cast from copper and iron, and his body that was as tall as a fortress constantly displayed a kind of reality, and that was the fact that he was powerful. Seeing this man who could hide his aura but could swallow the heavens and earth, step by step, walk out from under the broken statue, the two-headed dragon, Guang, and the others could not help but feel suffocated. The beautiful queen whose body was burning in flames was trembling. She could not help but blurt out, "Your Supreme Jin Yu, you the master of the Tang Valley's three-legged golden crow." Supreme Jin. As soon as this name was mentioned, The atmosphere in the hall suddenly became several times heavier. Even though the double-headed dragon Guang and the others could guess who it was, they weren't willing to easily mention it, because it was a name that was terrifyingly powerful, so powerful that it made people despair. Now that the beautiful queen had accidentally said it, everyone could not help but shiver when they heard it. Right now, the two-headed dragon Guang could not understand why a powerful existence like Supreme Gene would not wait for the war to end and reap the benefits without doing anything. He didn't need to do anything at all. Regardless of whether he did anything or not, after all the disputes were settled, whoever won would voluntarily give a share to the master of the Valley of Tang. No one dared to mistreat or embezzle the share of the three-legged Golden Crow tribe's venerable sovereign. Whether it was the Heaven Realm or Tong Tian Tower, no one dared to do that. He believed that even the supreme martial artist of the deity temple, the strongest person in the Heaven Realm, would not be willing to become enemies with the three-legged Golden Crow Arch who was known as the Gene D. Supreme Gene, who does not need to make a move to reap the fruits of victory in the end. Why should he be the first to step forward and fight Titan Yu to the death? There was absolutely no need for him to do that. With his identity and position, with his power and strength, he could casually assign any expert from his tribe to come forward, and he would be able to reap the fruits of victory in the end. However, he had to come personally and fight to be the first to attack. What was the meaning of this? Could it be that Supreme Gene and Tong Tian Tower had a blood feud that no one knew about? Yu Yang was also very puzzled. Shouldn't the big boss be in its own territory, waiting for everyone to farm it? Why did it come to the novice village? Furthermore, it even took the initiative to farm players. Was there still any justice in this world? Even if you want to play with people, you shouldn't do this. Do we know each other? Yu Yang decided to clarify. No. Supreme Gene denied. Then did I set fire to your house and carried your house through your front door in exchange for malt candies? Yu Yang rubbed the back of his head. He didn't seem to have done such a bad thing before. No. Supreme Gene shook his head. Then I was born with a ridiculing face? Yu Yang was depressed. Could it be that my little face was born to attract hatred? I can't tell. Supreme Gene indicated that this was not the reason. Then why did you come out in such a hurry to duel with me? I didn't do anything to provoke you, and my little face doesn't look like it's asking for a beating. You're handsome, and you have a high status. You can't bully the young and be so ungentlemanly. Yu Yang was simply anxious. He put on a shameless expression that said, if you dare to bully me, I'll cry. I'm very sorry. Supreme Gene suddenly apologized to Yu Yang with a sincere attitude. Actually, this has nothing to do with you. It's because I owe someone a huge favor. I had no other choice but to do this. You owe someone a favor, but you can't just beat me up to repay it. Yu Yang felt that he had been wronged. Although it's a bit of a blow to you, I think that this favor can only be repaid by beating you up. Supreme Gene answered honestly. Wait, if we're talking about favors, I've even saved your son, daughter-in-law, and grandchildren. How does that count? Yu Yang suddenly remembered that the 8th prince, Wu Hai, was this old man's son. Back then, Wu Hai, the stork beauty, and the twins had been saved by him and Bao Er. Although it was said that he should be rewarded for doing a good deed, Yu Yang had not reached the level of doing good deeds without leaving his name behind. Now that the Tong Tian Tower was on the brink of destruction, it was still necessary to talk about human relations. What was the point of being shameless? It was fine if you didn't want it. I've heard about this, and I'm very grateful for your help. Forget about my unfilial son who deserves to die. However, if it weren't for your help, those adorable little fellows might have become delicacies in other people's mouths or become lowly beasts, enslaved by inferior mercenaries for the rest of their lives. Supreme Gene nodded at Yu Yang, affirming Yu Yang's righteous deed. When the two-headed dragon, Gu Ong, and the others sensed that something was wrong, they immediately turned to look at the middle-aged scholar. Why does it seem like there's a change in the wind? This Supreme Gene was very mindful of favors and favors. He had been invited to conquer the Tong Tian Tower, but his descendants had been greatly indebted to Titan Yu and had yet to repay him. Could it be that he was the first to step forward because he wanted to make peace with Titan Yu? If that was the case, it would be a great pity. Supreme Jin was definitely a great help to the Heaven Realm army. With him around, their chances of victory would increase by at least 70%. On the other hand, if Supreme Jin were to side with Titan Yu, it would be even worse. What should they do? Everyone turned their attention to the middle-aged scholar once again. They hoped that he, who was known as the #1 think tank in the Central Shrine, would say something to give everyone a definite message and reassure them. The middle-aged scholar did not speak and maintained a smile on his face as if he had not heard the conversation between Supreme Jin and Yu Yang. His unexpected confidence stunned the two-headed dragon, Gu Ong, and the others. Each of them thought to themselves, "This Lord of the Eastern Palace is so calm. Could it be that he has a secret trick up his sleeve? I've done you a favor, and I've never provoked or offended you. Since we're all familiar with each other, why don't we turn enemies into friends?" Yu Yang took advantage of the situation. Turning enemies into friends isn't quite possible. Supreme Jin slowly shook his head. "If I kill you, my grandchildren will avenge you when they grow up. They will repay you for saving my life that day." UB*TCH. Yu Yang was so angry that he nearly vomited blood. "I'll beat you to death and then let my grandchildren seek revenge on me. How dare you even think of that?" When the two-headed dragon, Guong, and the others heard Supreme Jin's words, they could not help but burst into laughter. At the same time, they were full of confidence in the middle-aged scholar's plan. As expected of the #1 think tank in the Central Shrine, he would never do something that he was not sure of. Since he had done it, he must have the confidence of winning. Regardless of how much Titan Yu had done for the three-legged Golden Crow clan, it seems that Supreme Jin's intentions would not change. With Supreme Jin as his enemy, Titan Yu would not be able to turn things around no matter how heaven-defying he was. He was definitely going to die. Yu Yang had never been bullied like this in his entire life. He had always been the one to bully others. How could he be bullied like this today? He was being ganged up on, and he could not even cry out for help. He had to suffer in silence. Next, should he silently admit defeat, or should he tear his enemy into pieces and swallow them all into his stomach? However, Yu Yang had never been the kind of person who would silently admit defeat. He would definitely not be bullied without making a sound. Rather than kneeling to live, he would rather die standing. Fight! Fight with everything he had. This was the Yu clan's third young master in the Tong Tian Tower. Yu Yang slowly raised his crescent blade and held it tightly in his hand. He took a deep breath and slowly released the negative emotions in his heart. He then raised his hand steadily. He raised his blade and pointed it at Supreme Jin, who was standing as tall as a mountain. He issued a challenge in a resolute and decisive manner. "Come, Tang Valley's three-legged Golden Crow D-Zune, Supreme Jin, if you think that bullying a junior can satisfy your self-righteous superior mentality, then you are gravely mistaken. Let me, the new prison emperor of the Tong Tian Tower, tell you, let me, the disciple of the conquering queen, tell you, let me, the future owner of the god's ruins, tell you what is right and what is wrong. What you insist on is simply a ridiculous excuse that you created to satisfy your own twisted mentality. Don't let your words and actions run wild just because you are an old senior. In this world, ridiculous excuses will always exist as a joke. They will never be accepted or believed by others. I only know that what God says is the truth." Supreme Jin raised his head, and his body erupted with the Golden Crow's divine flames that caused the two-headed dragon Guong and the others to immediately retreat. The light emitted from his body was 1,000 times brighter than the sun in the sky. Supreme Jin's eyes turned golden as he stared at Yu Yang with his divine power. He reached out his right hand, which was also emitting the same sunlight. He pointed at Yu Yang. "Young man, let me tell you the truth as well. I am God, a true God. Therefore, it doesn't matter if you think that what I said is right or wrong, because it is the truth. It is a truth that belongs solely to me. It is a truth that can never die or be erased. It is based on my Godhead and my divine power. Young man, do you hear me clearly?" Under the illumination of Supreme Jin's divine power, Yu Yang could not look his lord in the eye. He raised his hand to cover his eyes. even though he possessed the heaven eyes divine vision. He could not open his eyes under this radiance. This was the power of Supreme Jin's divine power. This was Supreme Jin's unique Godhead and the will of the law. If you've heard me clearly, then go to hell. You who have gone against my will can no longer continue to exist in this world because you are not a God. You are not a true God who possesses an independent Godhead and the law. Supreme Jin's voice boomed like thunder. Once he had finished speaking, his right hand immediately shot out a radiance that was 1,000 times brighter than the sun. Everything in front of him, whether it was the unbreakable ground of the blood-colored altar or the stairway to heaven which contained the law of heaven and earth, or Yu Yang who was using all his might to defend himself, was instantly vaporized by this wave of divine power. Extinction. In front of a true God like Supreme Jin, any existence that went against his will would be destroyed in an instant, forever. Chapter 1260. Supreme Jin had destroyed everything in front of him the moment he made his move. Forget about Yu Yang, who was standing in the center of the polar day's radiance. Even a certain heavenly dragon tribe barbarian who did not escape fast enough and was grazed by Supreme Jin's divine power radiance would instantly vaporize. This heavenly dragon tribe barbarian was only his appearance. Even though his position was not as high as the two-headed dragon Guangs in the heaven realm, he was still an overlord in the heaven realm. A dragon's body was 1,000 times harder than steel. Unless it was the power of a true god, nothing in this world could turn it into nothingness. The two-headed dragon of the heavenly dragon tribe, Guang's face was ashen. The beautiful queen, whose entire body was engulfed in raging flames, was so frightened that her teeth were chattering. As for the other barbarian who appeared to be the 4 overlords of the heavenly dragon tribe, they were even more frightened out of their wits. The one who had been instantly killed by the divine power may not have been the strongest among the 5, but he was definitely not the weakest. Even if he had fought against the pride of the heavenly dragon tribe, the two-headed dragon Guang, who was known as the strongest in the heavenly dragon tribe, his comrade who had been instantly killed would not have been defeated within 100 moves. Such an overlord, such a powerful heavenly dragon tribe cultivator. Supreme Jin had easily killed him in one move. Furthermore, he had only grazed the edge of the divine power. If he had been hit head-on, even the proud, two-headed dragon Guang would not have the confidence to survive. It was not that everyone was unaware of Supreme Jin's fame or the master of the Tang Valley's power. However, they never thought that the leader of the 3-legged golden crows would be so terrifyingly powerful. Old friend, it's been many years since we last met. Congratulations on reaching a new state. The middle-aged scholar was the only one whose expression did not change. I've done what I promised you. Supreme Jin looked at the middle-aged scholar. Thank you very much. My dear brother, you really don't owe me anything. We're brothers, so there's no need to stand on ceremony. The middle-aged scholar was all smiles. Although he had said that there was no need to stand on ceremony, his actions were heavy and solemn as he thanked Supreme Jin. Supreme Jin fell silent. After a long pause, he suddenly turned around and walked away. After walking for about 10 meters, he paused again. Dongfeng, I'm still the same old me who had been chased out of my home and had no home to return to. However, you're no longer the same old you who would give up everything for the sake of your friends. This is the last time I will act. I hope you know what to do. This is also my last advice to you as a brother. Thank you. I will remember this. The middle-aged scholar nodded slowly. He watched as Supreme Jin left, one step at a time. He was also silent for a long time. He waited until Supreme Jin's towering figure had completely disappeared into the horizon before he gently exhaled. You are indeed still the same you from the past. This is very good. The 6 from the heavenly dragon race and the 3 from the black terror race all looked at the middle-aged scholar. The 9-headed snake and 9-headed bug of the 9-headed clan were whispering to each other, discussing something. Now, Tong Tian Tower's greatest obstacle, the Yu family's 3rd young master, Yu Tai Tan, who is also known as the Miracle, had been killed by Supreme Jin's unparalleled divine power. What should they do next? How should they split the share of the god's ruins? No one had the chance to act in this battle. Instead, Supreme Jean, who had rushed to repay the favor from the past, had reaped the greatest credit. Could it be that they had to renegotiate the previously agreed upon division plan? The nine-headed clan was still all right. They originally had a share. Although it was not much, they still had share. However, the Heavenly Dragon race and the Black Terror race had not been invited. They had only come on their own accord. None of them had made it in time for the initial distribution. Each of them had hurriedly rushed over from the Heaven Realm. It would not do if they returned empty-handed without reaping anything. What should we do now? The beautiful queen, whose entire body was burning, felt weak. She looked at the two-headed dragon Guang with uncertainty. Ahem, we can continue to put in effort to kill the powerhouses of Tong Tian Tower. However, in terms of division, we need at least, 1/50th of the god's ruins. The two-headed dragon Guang proposed a plan after careful consideration. If it was not for Supreme Jin's overbearing display, he might have suggested 1/20th or even 1/10th of a share. However, from the looks of it, 1/50th was already asking for an exorbitant price. Although there was only one Supreme Jin, his strength could not be compared to the number of people he had. In other words, although the Heavenly Dragon race still had 6 people, their overall strength was not on the same level as Supreme Jin. If Supreme Jin was like this, then how powerful would the Demon Emperor, who was on par with him, and the head elder of the Central Shrine, Jizun, be? What kind of division would it be? Furthermore, there were the peerless Emperor Wu Shuang and the honorable Heavenly Chariot of the Temple, who were above Supreme Jin and Demon Emperor. The two-headed dragon Guang felt that his proposal of 1/50th was a little too greedy. However, this was definitely not the final agreement. If he raised the price slightly, it would be easier to negotiate in the future. Based on the consideration of all the forces and strength, the two-headed dragon Guang guessed that the Heavenly Dragon race could at most obtain a 100th share. If that was not possible, a 200th or at least a 500th share was acceptable. In response to the two-headed dragon's proposal, the extremely arrogant man in black from the Black Terror race raised his lips in disdain and ridiculed. Even our race's Tai doesn't have the same appetite as you. A mere Heavenly Dragon race, a piece of trash that can be killed in one move, dares to ask for such an exorbitant price? Aren't you afraid of bursting to death? Even if you aren't afraid of bursting to death, you should at least think about whether others will laugh at you to death, okay? What did you say? The beautiful Queen Myriad Bones Paralysis, who was covered in flames, was enraged. Previously, she had been slapped in the face by Titan Yu. Now, this demon race brat also wanted to bully others? No matter what, I am still the female dragon queen who had sucked thousands of men dry. Do you really think I am a piece of cake after being slapped in the face one after another? Looks like I have no choice but to show my might. Let me tell you, brat, I am not easy to deal with. Of course, his strength was unknown, so he could not act rashly. He still had to keep his life for the treasures in the god's ruins. Thinking of this, the beautiful Queen Myriad Bones Paralysis secretly made an extremely covert gesture to her 4 companions behind her, indicating for them to test the strength of this arrogant demon race brat. Brat, you talk too much. Take it easy. One of the overlords of the Heavenly Dragon race, who had a personal relationship with the beautiful queen, immediately rushed out from the crowd in front of his companions. His mountain-like body stood in front of the arrogant man and looked down at him from above. If you don't accept it, I'll fight you until you accept it. Don't think that your companions can protect you. There are 6 of us. As he berated, he paid attention to the expressions of the Black Terror race's Black Bear Demon and Wild Boar Demon. He discovered that the 2 Demon King-level demons were silent. He thought that they were afraid of the Heavenly Dragon race, so he immediately became 100 times more confident. Although one of his companions had been instantly killed, there were still 6 of them, which was far above the Black Terror race. As for the 9-head race, they were not weak, but these demons who especially liked to fight among themselves and never work together would probably sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. They would not make a move. As long as the Wild Boar Demon and the Black Bear Demon did not make a move to protect him, a mere demon race brat, coupled with the fact that he could not see anything, would probably be limited no matter how strong he was. Furthermore, he looked so awkward, he might even be a bastard. To the Eastern Goblin tribe, an impure bloodline was a fatal weakness. This was because a bastard was definitely the weakest existence. Those old fellows above also did not like the younger generation that was born from hybridization. For example, because the Heavenly Dragon race had betrayed the Heavenly Dragon Emperor and mixed their bloodlines with the Giant Dragon race, they were completely eliminated from the ranks of the demon race. They did not even recognize the most basic title and were completely seen as an outsider race. Otherwise, the Heavenly Dragon race could also be considered as a member of the Eastern Goblin tribe. You're still wet behind the ears, yet you dare to come to Tong Tian Tower to plunder? I can beat the shit out of you with one slap. The Heavenly Dragon Overlord, who was as tall as a small mountain, stared at the arrogant man in front of him proudly. With just you? It turned out that the arrogant man was born a fighting maniac. He originally wanted to provoke Yu Yang into a fight, but he did not succeed. He then prepared to find an excuse to start a fight with the Heavenly Dragon race. After he arrived at the blood-colored altar and saw Supreme Gene, he restrained himself a little and watched quietly without saying much. After Supreme Gene left, if the arrogant man did not return to his original personality, when would he wait? Forget about the other party's arrogant response. Even if the other party did not respond, he would still think of ways to start a fight, because fighting was the meaning of his life. Wait, the middle-aged scholar hurriedly stopped him. He proposed an idea. Regarding the share, I know that everyone wants to get more, but the share of the gods' ruins is fixed. This hall master is really in a difficult position. How about this? All of you guard this blood-colored altar together, because this is the exit of the Heaven Stairway. Perhaps there are still some strong cultivators in Tong Tian Tower who have yet to return to participate in the battle. If all of you can guard this place for 3 days and 3 nights, regardless of whether there is a battle or not, the person who is left in the end will get 1% of the share. What do you think of this proposal? When the two-headed dragon Guong heard this, he thought that this was beneficial to his side. There were 6 of them on his side. This was much better than the original biggest request. Of course, he also understood the sinister intentions of the Central Shrine's #1 think tank. This Easter Hall master obviously wanted to use someone else to do his dirty work. The one guarding the blood-colored altar must be fake. What Tong Tian Tower's strongest? Titan Yu? Wasn't he killed in one move by Supreme Gene? If it was him, he reckoned that he would also be able to end the battle in a few dozen or at most 100 moves. If Titan Yu died, would there still be any experts in Tong Tian Tower? Impossible. The Easter Hall Master obviously wanted the Nine-Headed Clan, the Black Terror Clan, and his Heavenly Dragon Clan to stay here and kill each other. After 3 days, there would probably not be many left alive. This would be easy to handle. Even if it was a 1% share, it would be much easier. Agreed, we'll do as you say. The two-headed dragon Guong felt that this proposal was beneficial to him. Not to mention the 1%. If a few of his companions survived, he would be able to get a few more shares. At that time, he would be able to kill his companions and get a few more shares. As for the casualties of his companions during the battle, it did not matter. As long as he survived to the end, it would be fine. We also have no problem. The nine-headed snake nodded and reminded the middle-aged scholar, please remember, the share belonging to Lord Demon Emperor cannot be missing. Of course. The middle-aged scholar looked at the 3 from the Black Terror clan and discovered that the arrogant man was silent, while the Black Bear Demon and Wild Boar Demon both nodded in agreement with his proposal. He immediately revealed a friendly smile. Everyone, the task of guarding the exit of the Heaven Stairway is very important. You must all work together. You must not fight because of personal grudges. No, I won't humph. The beautiful queen of myriad bones paralysis looked at the arrogant man and sneered. Wasn't this clearly reminding him to take the opportunity to avenge his personal grudges? 3 days was enough time to kill the 3 from the Black Terror clan. Even if he could not kill the Black Bear and Wild Boar, killing this arrogant demon clan brat should not be a problem. As for the nine-headed clan, they should have the Demon Emperor behind them, but it was unknown whether the Demon Emperor had come to Tong Tian Tower. The Demon Emperor was not the three-legged golden crow, Clan's Emperor Jin. He was not Dongfang's friend, so he probably would not come personally. Sending 5 of his subordinates was already giving face. As long as the 5 fellows from the Nine-Headed Clan did not go overboard and honestly split the shares equally, then he would not clash with them for the time being. TSK. The arrogant man spat a mouthful of saliva onto the ground in disdain, and his attitude was extremely arrogant. Looks like this kid is simply a pain in the neck, and he doesn't know what fear is at all. The middle-aged scholar expressed that he still had something very important to do and repeatedly urged everyone to coexist peacefully. Naturally, everyone agreed on the surface. He received such a response. The Eastern First Palace Master nodded in satisfaction before drifting away. When he left, the Heavenly Dragon race saw that the Nine-Headed Snake and the others did not have any reaction. The Black Bear Demon and Wild Boar Demon of the Black Terror race were also like grandsons. They all felt that it was time to show off their skills. The 2 Heavenly Dragon race overlords turned towards the Black Bear Demon and the Wild Boar Demon. One of them stood guard outside, while the other stared at the arrogant man, ready to attack at any time to give this brat a painful blow. The twin-headed dragon Guong and the beautiful Queen Thousand Bones Biscuit looked at the 9-headed serpent and the others with smiles on their faces, as if they were harmless to humans and animals. None of the 5 from the 9-head clan made a sound. In the end, only the 9-headed demon slightly furrowed his brows and suddenly said, "Do you guys really think that Titan you is dead?" When he said this, everyone from the Heavenly Dragon race was stunned. The Black Bear Demon and the Wild Boar Demon of the Black Terror race were also stunned. That was a fatal blow from the true god realm Emperor Jin. The Heavenly Dragon race overlord could not escape in time. Even his iron-like giant dragon body was annihilated by the god power. How could a weak human with such a small body think that he could escape from the extreme sun radiance of Emperor Jin? The will of the god could not be questioned. If the person that the god wanted to kill could survive, then how could he be a human, other than the god? No one could survive under the will of the god. If he did not die, how could he hide from the eyes of the Eastern First Palace Master? The twin-headed dragon Guong was shocked at first, but he chose to believe in the middle-aged scholar. That was because this Eastern First Palace Master would never be wrong. Even if he was wrong, he would not be wrong in front of a creature that was weaker than him. Only a god could make the Eastern First Palace Master make a mistake. You all think that Titan you is dead? The 9-headed demon looked around. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.